Is this thing on?
Are you ready, Matt?
You're listening to Box Office Bingers
with Matt Diaz and Ernesto Santos.
Good evening, folks. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Box Office Bingers.
And the only way that I know how to do it is to find you a bloody good dump.
He's my friend. I don't have friends. I got family.
I can do this all day.
You know, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Matt, we are going to be racing into this review this week. God, that was so bad. But all right, we're here. Episode 260. Sometimes I try and I'm just like, I'm going to try to be funny and witty, and it's a miss. And you know what? Sometimes I live with my mistakes. So that's what we're going to go with. It's episode 262, guys. Pat, what are we reviewing this week?
This week we are speeding through, strapping in. Ooh, I like that one. We're strapping in.
Yeah.
For that's a good transition, kind of. We are strapping into F1 the movie, which is our spoiler review of the week. Directed by Joseph Kosinski, who came out with the blockbuster hit Top Gun Maverick, in addition to Tron Legacy, Oblivion, Only the Brave, and Spiderhead, that was on Netflix. Written by Ehren Kruger. There you go. Who also worked on Top Gun Maverick, Transformers 2 through 4. So it wasn't involved with the first one, and only dabbled in the Mark Wahlberg versions. He got a little taste from it. He got the not that. What?
It's a transformer, like Mark Wahlberg.
It's a transformer.
It's a transformer. Optimus, what are you doing? No, that was terrible, Mark.
And then after Mark Wahlberg, he's like, "Yeah, I'm out of here."
Yeah, I think I'm done.
He's like, "I'm not part of that no more." He also worked on the live action version of Dumbo, Ghost in the Shell, the live action version that a lot of people did not like. And then he was also working on horror movies like The Ring and Scream 3. F1 the movie stars Brad Pitt, Damson Idris, Javier Bardem, and Carrie Condon. This movie right here had a lot of eyes on it. I think specifically the fact that F1 is a wildly popular sport. So making a movie surrounding by it gives me very similar, when I heard this movie was coming out, very similar to like Gran Turismo.
Yeah, I felt the exact same thing.
Yeah, racing movie, like it's kind of you're kind of centering a story around the brand and then kind of giving it its own thing, which is kind of interesting. It's not a bad way to approach a movie.
I feel like it's old school movie. I feel like it's like old school movie telling, like really old school storytelling for movies. Like I don't know. It felt like a movie. Like I felt like this movie could have came out in the 90s or in the early 2000s, and it would be the same movie.
I feel like this is like the original thinking that comes with Barbie. You know, like Barbie, you had an IP, you have a brand attached to it, and then you decided to make a movie surrounding it. And then not necessarily a movie that's been done before, but just like we have this IP, what are we going to do with it? And then this is what they come with it. So they had the idea of making an F1 movie. What would that look like? And then you got Brad Pitt involved, which is already a good get. But I mean, honestly, my eyes were solely on this movie was the fact that Joseph Kosinski, this is his next movie after Top Gun Maverick, and is like, yeah, I want to see what this guy has to do after Top Gun Maverick, and we will be talking about that, what he did.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to discuss. Hans Zimmer did the score, which was was such a pleasant surprise when I popped that on.
My God!
Afterwards, I was like, guess I know what I'm listening to in the car, because it's a little. For me, it's a little different from scores that he's done before. I mean, we'll get into it when we talk about the movie, but it's obviously 100% worth mentioning when we talk about this film.
Yeah, I texted you earlier, and I was like, the movie started, and I was like, ooh, this is like a banger theme. I can't wait to I was already into the score already. I was like, the movie just started. and I was like, "Ooh, I like the score. I wonder who did it." And then this is a movie that has opening credits, so you see some of the names pop up, and all of a sudden you see music by Hans Zimmer, and I was like, "Ooh,
Or like,
ooh, I'm in for. I'm strapping in.
it's like,
We're in for a good time.
strap me in, Hans.
Take me on this musical journey, Hans.
Whee!
Move aside, Brad Pitt. I want to sit next to Hans."
Yeah. It's like you're in a
Uh,
Hans Zimmer movie, actually.
yeah. for for all of the music nerds out there, this is the why we came to the theater. It wasn't because of Brad Pitt, John Krasinski, or F1 was in the title. It's because Hans Zimmer was scoring this movie. You know you're in for a different kind of experience.
Right?
And
Like,
I've seen that man live, and
yeah,
he brought a different experience there too. I was blown away by his live performance. It's amazing.
oh, very, very, very lucky. But yeah, once you see his name attached to like any movie, you're just like,
Mhm.
all right, well, it doesn't really matter what the movie's about. Like, cause I'm gonna, his score is gonna make me like the movie anyway. Even if the movie's bad, his score will make the movie enjoyable.
You can be like, just blindfold me. It's okay. I don't need to see what's on the screen.
Literally, literally. It's like, oh, I can tell something epic's happening right now.
He's like, "Ooh, yeah, yeah, that's good. Oh, Hans, you did not just do that. Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing." Yeah, so obviously we're going to be talking about F1 a little bit later in the show. Also, in our What You Watching, we're going to be talking about Disney Pixar's new movie Elio.
Hmm.
Um, that we both had a chance to see, among other things. But first, as always, it's been a minute since we've talked about some entertainment news. So this is at this point going to be our once a month. It seems like that's the case nowadays, that we just talk about this once a month and we get a whole bunch of news together that's been circulating throughout the last few weeks, and we kind of talk a lot of it. So we're going to go through a lot of news. And the first big one that we want to discuss, and this one excites us
It's
so
Sisus.
much. Excites,
It's so exciting.
so exciting. I love this guy. This guy right here.
He's great.
He's great.
He makes movies great.
The person in question is Jon Bernthal, is set to reprise his role as Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, in Spider-Man Brand New Day, coming to theaters July 31st, 2026. According to the Hollywood Reporter, Bernthal will join the cast alongside Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Sadie Sink in an unknown role. The report also notes that Zendaya and Jacob Batalon will return as MJ and Ned, but it's unclear how significant their roles will be. While plot details are being kept under wraps, this news does indicate that the film may be more street level centric than the last three Spider Man films. More importantly, I know we had talked about a few rumors, or there have been rumors out there that there was a contention between Sony and what Sony wanted and what Marvel wanted. If the rumors were skewed to be true, we know that Sony wanted to continue the Spider-Man movies more on a multiverse level, where Marvel wanted to get down ground to do a street level grounded Spider-Man movie. And I think it's easy to say, and I could be wrong by saying this, but when Jon Bernthal as the Punisher is going to be in your movie, it seems like they're going toward the more grounded reality. And I think that is 100% the best case scenario. And I am very excited to see what the Punisher has to offer in a Spider-Man movie. But it does beg the question on how he will be fitting in to the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, my main question is this like a main role? Is this like a Charlie Cox in the last Spider-Man movie where it's like one fucking random scene, and is it like not even the Punisher? Is it just gonna be like Jon Bernthal walking down the street? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, or
Yeah.
is he gonna have like like a substantial role within the film?
Mhm.
That's like my main question in regards to that. But I think it'd be nice because this would be, especially if he has more of a center role, whereas like he's helping Spider-Man, like maybe even like a subplot, like because this will be the first time a Netflix character has made that jump. You know,
Mhm.
we've seen cameos obviously with Charlie Cox, but this will be the first time that that role will play like a major role within the films itself.
At least we hope it will.
Yeah, I mean, because like we're all thinking during Infinity War and like all these other events that are happening, they're like, where's like all the defenders? Like they're not upset that all of New York is in like utter chaos. Like
Mhm.
nobody decided, or like that the world's on fire. Like oh, half of the world's gone from this snap. Like maybe we should help out. Like those are moments where we felt like these heroes should have been. Like those are big events that those heroes should have been there. You know what I
Yeah, and
mean?
then there's always the conversation. Obviously, we were watching Daredevil, Born Again, and in the same time, Thunderbolts came out, both of which were taking place during in New York. So we don't know exactly when the events of Thunderbolts were taking place at the same time at the events of Daredevil, Born Again. But like
Mm.
a lot of stuff happened in Daredevil that was obviously not mentioned in Thunderbolts and vice versa. So I mean, as much as I love watching these shows separately, what makes it a little bit extra special is when we actually see these characters, kind of mix in with the bigger MCU. I don't know when or if this is going to happen. I feel like this is a good trial run because we also know that the Punisher is getting his own special, like
Hmm.
1 hour special on Disney Plus. At this time, we don't know exactly when that special is going to be coming out on Disney Plus. We know it's sometime in 2026. So will it be before or after Spider-Man Brand New Day? In addition to, we know that the Punisher is going to be in Daredevil Born Again season 2. So is the Punisher going to be showcasing going to be in season 2? I'm assuming if the timeline is correct, at least the release schedule, we're going to get Daredevil's Born Again season 2 before we get Spider-Man.
Yeah, which I think you and I have talked off camera about that. Like they're gonna have to explain that because
Mhm.
he's in a very precarious position at the end of the last season. So like
Mhm.
they're gonna have to explain that shit if obviously that's gonna need to be rectified before we get to Spider-Man Brand New Day, unless that's a part of Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure if you can you pull up the first time Spider-Man and the Punisher, that comic book cover?
Mm.
Because that's when I see the Punisher and Spider-Man, that's what I'm envisioning. So, I mean, right now we see the Punisher as an anti-hero, but I don't really see him working with Spider-Man, at least not in the beginning. I want him hunting him. If I'm thinking of the right image,
Oh, I think so.
I
Yeah, give me a second and I'll get it for you.
okay. I'm thinking of it's like a sniper shot of like the Punisher's looking at Spider-Man in his scopes. Yes. Yeah, that yellow one right there. You're right there. Um, yeah, I wanna see that image in the movie. That's what I want.
So you want to see him hunt. You want to see him hunt
Yeah, I
Spider-Man.
mean, it's been years and the fans have been wanting so long for the Punisher to be intermingling with Spider-Man. The same for Kingpin. I feel like this is a great opportunity for Kingpin to be in a Spider-Man movie, let alone Daredevil to be in a Spider-Man movie. I mean, and you can even use that you teased Charlie Cox in the last movie. So, honestly, I would love that if Spider-Man Brand New Day was centered around the events that was happening into the Daredevil grounded New York because no one knows who Spider-Man is anymore as the events of No Way Home. So, like this is a perfect opportunity to give us a different kind of a Spider-Man story centered around Punisher, Daredevil, and Kingpin. I just don't think they're going to do it.
You actually bring up a really good point because the Kingpin mainly is a Spider-Man villain. So
Mhm.
the fact that we haven't seen them interact, like that would be nice for this new set of trilogies for that to be a thing. Yeah, I'm totally on board for that, and I think this is very exciting. Whatever this may be, because Jon Bernthal is a fucking gem. Like he's so good. Like some of the best parts of
Yeah.
this last season of Daredevil is the interactions that Punisher and Daredevil had.
Yeah, and clearly, obviously, Marvel is leaning into more Punisher things with him coming back for Daredevil, his having his own special. They see value into this character, and that's pretty obvious now that with him being involved in Spider-Man Brand New Day. To what you mentioned earlier, I really hope this isn't a cameo and this is more of a have him be the B line story. He doesn't have to be the A story,
Hmm.
but I would love for him to be the B story, like something that's kind of happening and something that Spider-Man's keeping aware of, or even the Punisher is keeping tabs on Spider-Man. Like I would like him to have a little bit more screen time and have a reason to be in the story rather than just a cameo role. So, but
Totally. Totally
just
agree.
him being involved, yeah, him being involved gets me really excited to see what Brand New Day has in store. So I really hope the next news we get is Daredevil and, and Kingpin are joining them.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not something that's too crowded. You know,
True, that's very true. But I mean, we can fit them in. Just those two.
that's
Just
a slippery
it,
slope, Matthew.
it's okay. They're all together. Just put them together.
Make it
One big
happen.
happy
One
family.
big happy Marvel family fighting it out.
Like have Kingpin be the villain. That's fine. It's fine.
No,
Um,
yeah, you need a smaller villain. I would say, like, save him, like, have him be in the background, like, maybe build him up to be like the third movie, like to be the main villain at the
okay,
very very end, to be for something to be contended with.
okay, but either way, the Punisher have a bigger role, please. Don't
Yeah,
don't Charlie Cox him. Give him a different.
facts.
Give him a little more to work with.
Yeah. Let's move on to some very exciting news. Uh, MGM Studios, Amazon, has officially announced that Denis Villeneuve, director of Dune Part 1, Part 2, Blade Runner 2049, Arrival, Sicario, and Prisoners. First of all those movies, bangers. So he will direct the next James Bond film. Villeneuve said following the announcements. Following the announcement, some of my earliest movie-going memories are connected to 007. I grew up watching James Bond film with my father. Ever since Dr. No with Sean Connery, I'm a diehard Bond fan. To me, he's sacred territory. I intend to honor the tradition and open the path for many new missions to come. This is a massive responsibility, but also incredibly exciting for me and a huge honor. Amy, David, and I are absolutely thrilled to bring him back to the screen. Thank you, Amazon MGM Studios, for their trust. Um, yeah, this is fantastic news. I think that he's an incredible creator, and that he honors, like you see it with Dune, like he honors the projects that he's been given, like something that holds a lot of emotional weight within our society, that people these stories that people tend to value, like Dune. I mean, it's a massive book series, now a TV series, and like just what he was able to do with that was absolutely incredible. We're setting up to see Dune Part 3. That's gonna be amazing. Yeah, I'm excited. This is incredible news. Matt, what are your thoughts?
It's a bold choice. Like I honestly, I think it's a bold choice for Denis Villeneuve. Nope,
Denis
Denny
Villeneuve.
Denny Villeneuve. Thank you. I think it's a bold choice for him because that is a lot of pressure. Like, I think there was already pressure when you're doing Dune Part 1 and 2.
Hmm.
Even there's a lot of people in the niche markets like, "Oh, they're doing a Blade Runner sequel. That would be interesting." And then
Another
you
one.
have
Yeah.
the pressure of like, "Hey, this guy's doing Dune now." That's a big franchise book series to kind of tackle, and he did it so well. So now him now moving the next step of his career, uh doing a 007 movie, a ton of pressure. A ton of pressure to get it right, to give us an interesting story. I think he has it in him. He's a fantastic
Oh
director.
yeah.
I'm just saying that there's a lot of pressure down, like to see, like, because all eyes are now on you, just because you are the first person to again reignite this franchise that Amazon really wants to uh, get this ball rolling. They're moving in quick. I can see this coming in very soon. Within probably 2027, we'll probably see this Bond movie.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about this is that we already talked about a few months ago that he had 2 projects lined up. And now here he is again. So one of those projects are definitely taking a back burner.
Well, we'll see. Well, he does like to like singularly focus on his projects, which I mean, you can see every movie he's done. I mean, I literally every movie he's done has been incredible. I don't think he's made a bad movie yet.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, I have not jived with all of his movies. I feel like he does deep sci-fi, and sometimes I don't respond well to it, but I really did like Dune, part 1 and 2. I was okay with, Blade Runner 2049, and I need to give Arrival a rewatch because I wasn't 100% into it, and I've been told multiple times by others and you that I'm wrong.
Yeah, I was
And
waiting. I was literally sitting here waiting for it. I was like, "You better put some respect on Arrival. Like, don't you dare disrespect that film."
I saw it coming.
You
I
felt.
saw it
I'm
coming.
sure you felt it from me. It's like, nope.
I
Don't.
did.
It's like, don't you say it. Your dirty mouth. Don't you say those words.
Don't you say all those negative words.
Don't you say that. He's amazing. All right, but this is
He's
this is great news.
Put some respect on the Villeneuve. Hey, Uncle Roger said that. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
I know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, let's blame it on him. Let's go with that. He's our scapegoat.
Yeah, just quickly looking at it. So we had talked about him doing Doom Messiah that currently is slated for December 18th, 2026. The same release date as Avengers Doomsday. Let's see if that sticks, first of all. Let's see who budges on that release date. Um, but as of right now, we have end of 2026. And then at the time, we also said that he was going to be working on a movie called Nuclear War: A Scenario, which I believe is based off of a book.
Yes.
So I think that project most likely is going to be taken off the back burner. There's a good chance that he's probably going to be going into Dune Messiah and then very quickly going into James Bond for most likely a 2027 release, if not maybe 2028. And obviously, the next big news to come next is who is going to play James Bond. Who is our next James Bond for the next um, couple of movies? And I'm very curious to see Denis Villeneuve's style coming into a James Bond movie because his other previous work is sci-fi. He is like the sci-fi guy. And so now seeing him going into kind of back a little bit into now a spy genre, I'm very curious to see how he kind of like how of this version of James Bond looks like. So it's a huge get for Amazon. They really wanted to start off strong, and I think they're putting themselves in a good spot. What I also thought it was noted is worth noting was that part of the deal though is that he does not have final cut of this movie. That was a big deal that Amazon and the people who are running part of the estate of 007. They never gave final cut on a movie to the director. So he had to sign off on that he's not getting final cut on this one. So that's also to keep note when the movie comes out that, he has to play ball and he's willing to do that. At least he signed up for it.
That kind of sucks though, because I would love to see it like an untouched director's cut of whatever he
Yeah.
would make. Then he can, he
And-
can just sell the director's cut later. I'm gonna watch it. I'd watch it.
If there is maybe there's there's no reason to worry about that because maybe the version he wants is the version that they agree with. So
That's fair.
but I'm sure he has a lot of creative control over Dune, I would like to imagine.
Yeah.
But Amazon is definitely they're putting a lot of money into this franchise. And, they spent a whole bunch of money making sure that they get full creative rights over it. And then now they're full speed ahead on getting this off the ground and getting a huge Hollywood director as well as some promising names attached to this movie as well as far as the producer sides. We talked about Amy Pascal, who's been with Sony for a minute as well as her own production company and working with all the Spider-Man movies. So yeah, this is shaping up to be a good path for the next James Bond movie, but time will tell. Time 12? No.
Time will twirl.
Time will 12.
Time will twirl.
But yeah, so far it's on track to be really, really good.
Yeah.
With that, speaking of goofiness, Mel Brooks, Bill Pullman, and Rick Moranis are set to reprise their roles as Yogurt, Lone Star, and Dark Helmet in the upcoming film Spaceballs 2, coming to theaters in 2027. This will be Rick Moranis' first film since retiring from acting nearly 30 years ago. Also joining the cast are Josh Gad, Kiki Palmer, and Lewis Pullman in unknown roles. Lewis Pullman was just Bob in Thunderbolts, and he is the son of Bill Pullman. So that'll be a good father son duo there. Uh, The film has been described as a non-prequel, non-reboot sequel, part two with reboot elements, franchise expansion film. So I hope you wrote that down.
Yeah.
Uh, as previously reported, Josh Greenbaum, the director behind 2023 Strays and Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, starring Kristen Wiig, will direct the film. Screenwriting duo Benji Smith and Dan Hernandez, best known for writing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and Adam's Family 2, will co-write the screenplay alongside Josh Gad. You know, I I don't really have much, involvement in the Spaceballs, like, Mel Brooks world, but for some reason, when I saw this news come out, this made me smile. This like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm actually really excited to see this movie, even though I have not been, I don't like rewatch the first one. I've seen it once or twice, but I like kind of like a movie that I've seen and kind of forgotten about. But I don't know, this type of sequel makes me really excited. And the more thing I'm excited about is see that this was the role that Rick Moranis decided to come back for after all these years.
Yeah, I'm excited for the movie. I think the movie will be funny. Like I love the original Spaceballs, but the main part of this news is that this is what got Rick Moranis essentially out of retirement. For
Hmm.
those who don't know, he basically like left Hollywood in the mid '90s when his wife passed away, so that he can raise his kids. And he's done like I think we looked it up. He did like a he's done like a cameo here and there, like guest spots, but nothing that as involved as this will be. So I mean, he's reprising one of his most iconic roles. So I mean, this is going to be great. This is fantastic news. I'm a huge Rick Moranis fan. Another one I love. Like all his films, I love all his work from like I grew up watching his movies. So I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, and also it's like, I mean, not only Rick Moranis, but like even Mel Brooks.
Yeah,
Like, Jesus, this man is he was
98.
born 1926. He's
He'll be over
what?
100 when this movie comes out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he turns 100 next year. He is 99 years old. Yeah, he just turned 99 this a few days ago.
He's still kicking. Look at that, man. Still
He's
going.
making a movie.
Yeah, it's like fuck retirement. I'm making Spaceballs too, bitch.
I was listening to another podcast and they were like, "Hey, let him film his scenes first."
Oh, that's so nice.
Let's get some of his scenes down first, just a little bit, just in case, just in case. But man, I really hope he can make it to the premiere. 101 years old if he gets to the premiere, which will be incredible to see this man still acting, still active.
Yeah.
um, I mean, that photo there, they came out with a small teaser for the movie, kind of announcing that it's coming in 2027, and he's still kicking. He's still making movies, still wants to be a part of entertainment. This is a man who is kind of living and breathing his craft, and he's like, I'm gonna continue doing this until I die. Um, and you know, good on him, man.
Yeah.
Good on him. Yeah, I don't know. This makes me really excited. I feel like this feels like a fun time, and there has been, when Spaceballs came out all the way back in 1987, it was just the original trilogy they had to go off of. Now, do you know how many more
That's
movies
a good point.
that they have to spoof off of? You have the prequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy, all the Disney Plus shows, the animated shows. They have so much material to go off, and that's only if they're focusing on Star Wars. So,
Yeah,
eh,
that's true. That's even because sometimes I think there were, there's like pop culture references, like cultural references within the film as
mhm.
well. So, I mean, there's a lot to go off of there.
Yeah, and then also I think they said that since the last Spaceballs, I think there was like there a laundry list of like so many movies and trilogies and franchises to have come out since the last Spaceballs movie. It was a really funny trailer, a teaser for the movie. So yeah, I don't know. This has me really excited. This feels like this brings back a certain level of nostalgia that's like, and we even talked about before the idea of a spoof movie. It's kind of like a lost art form in a way, that we don't see nowadays because it can be done in poor taste, and oftentimes it does. But now we're seeing the return of Spaceballs. We're seeing the Wayne brothers have a crack at a scary movie again. So like there are spoofs now trying to make a return and see how well they do on today's world
which
rather than what it was in the early 90s.
I'm kind of here for. Like I'm here.
Mhm.
Like I mean, as long you have to make it relevant for the times because just
Right.
like we've seen, there's like spoof movies from when early 2000s that you watch now, you go, mm,
Mm.
can't watch that anymore, or like, mm,
That didn't age well.
yeah, like we don't think that's funny anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, comedy's always a tough line to get, and then also to be a classic, the jokes have to stand the test of time, and a lot of comedies don't age well because it was the comedy of the time.
Mm.
Uh,
Whereas
so we'll see.
Spaceballs has stood the test of time. Like you can still go
Mhm,
back and watch the original and enjoy it, but just the way that it's so cleverly written, like pretty much like all his movies, like History of the World, like all they're all
mhm.
Young Frankenstein. Like these are spoof movies that are able to last throughout time just because of how expertly they've been written.
And also, they decided to spoof certain things that can stand the test of time. Like
Hmm.
for them, spoofing Star Wars is still talked about, highly regarded today.
Yeah,
So if you want to see something that makes fun of Star Wars, here it is. And then the same for like what was the other one you just mentioned?
Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, I mean that's going off of the old monster movies that a lot of people still adore today. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's still kind of there. But yeah, either way, I'm excited for this movie. 2027 seems like a far time away, but hopefully, they have a lot of good material to work off of, and also Josh Gad is involved, and so I think he's a good comedian. So I think they can write a pretty good script. So hopefully, they give some good material for Rick Moranis because he deserves only the best on his
Facts.
return to acting.
Facts. Facts. All right. Let's move on to some. I mean, I don't really know how to take this news. This is interesting. Robert Eggers, who directed Nosferatu, is set to direct an adaptation of Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol for Warner Brothers. This would be Eggers' first film with Warner Brothers. He's looking to reunite with William Dafoe to cast him as Ebenezer Scrooge. A Christmas Carol is in development. Eggers' next project will be a 13th century werewolf thriller set in England for Focus Features, as well as a sequel to Jim Henson's 1986 cult classic, The Labyrinth. Yeah, he's got an interesting mix there of projects that he's working on. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in this. I love William Dafoe. I loved Nosferatu. It. I think he gets that like Victorian vibe down really well, which is what we saw in
Hmm.
Nosferatu. So I'm hoping that's the aspect he's bringing in a Christmas Carol, and maybe not the horror that he's known for. Or like
Yeah,
unless they're gonna make the Ghosts of Christmas Past, they're just gonna be like they're gonna be like a little bit more horror or like a little bit scarier.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, this isn't like a grim fairy tale by any means, but it feels like that's the vibe that he would take it.
Yeah,
There's like this very
a very darker gothic take on it.
yes, and I can see it. I can see this whole movie in black and white.
Yeah.
Like I can feel it. And to your point, he already exudes that in his style of filmmaking. I might not always agree with his level of work, but I can 100% appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so the fact that for some reason we're taking another stab at A Christmas Carol, I mean, I'm very curious to see how in Eggers' style what this looks like. Because we've seen a musical version with Spirited. We've seen the classic versions, like animated with even the Robert Zemeckis' version. We've seen the Disney's version. We've seen a
Muppet.
lot of different versions of A
There's a
Christmas
there's a
Carol.
Muppet version.
The Muppet version, you're right. Like we know the story.
Yeah.
So how do you make it different from a story that we already have? And I think a good example of that was Spirited. We put it in a we put it into a musical setting. It felt original while sticking to like the classic themes of A Christmas Carol. So curious to see how well this kind of pans out. And I'm sure he's going to take a very classic approach to this, but also prime casting. Willem
Yeah.
Dafoe as Scrooge, perfect.
Doesn't really get better, especially with them. They obviously work so well together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm just curious to see what it's gonna look like.
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah, I don't know how or what, but for some reason when I see this, I picture it, the whole movie's in black and white.
Yeah.
That's the movie.
Well, something that this is news that we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, for
Some other
sure.
exciting news: Aaron Sorkin is set to write and direct a sequel to The Social Network for Sony Pictures. Sorkin, who wrote the screenplay for the 2010 Academy Award-winning film The Social Network, directed by David Fincher, says, "What has been going on with Facebook these last few years is a story very much worth telling." Sorkin's sequel will be based on the Wall Street Journal's The Facebook Files, a series of articles authored by Jeff Horowitz and published in October of 2021, which further exposed the inner workings of the company. But what I think what's interesting is that this is going to be a sequel from The Social Network. So are
Mhm.
we looking at a return of Jesse Eisenberg and Andrew Garfield?
Potentially. I mean, that would be good gets if they decided to do that. Or I don't know if this is like set in the world of, or this is like a semi sequel where like, yes, this is the social network, but we're just continuing off the idea of Facebook, and that's the idea of a sequel. Um, Very curious how he wants to play this. I love Aaron Sorkin. He is a master writer. I watched The Newsroom, which was fantastic. I know he's more known for probably The West Wing, and he's also took a stab at writing and directing. I believe his last few films were the Trial of the Chicago Seven, in
Fantastic movie.
addition, which was a great movie, and Being the Ricardos, which was also a movie on Prime. And we talked about it a
Yeah,
few years ago. It came
we
out in
watched.
2021.
I believe we watched that, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I love the way he tells his stories. It's very centralized and kind of feels like of a purpose.
Hmm.
So the fact that he wants to kind of take a crack at this again because he has a lot of ideas on how to expand on the social network. I think I'm very interested to see how he continues what he's already started with this.
Well, especially with like just how polarizing social media is in our world. So I mean,
Hmm.
the expansion of where social media is now, and if he's basing it off those Facebook files, so that's like it'll be nice to get an inner working of how all that works. And if that's from October 2021, so we're looking at social media post COVID. So we're gonna hear
Yeah.
so he leans heavy into the political stuff. So I'm
Hmm.
curious if they're gonna talk about like social media and its involvement in the election and just kind of like what that involved. There's so much that he can explore.
Yeah.
So I'm this is something we're gonna be looking forward to. I'm sure when it comes to Oscar season 2, after
Yeah. True.
I'm sure it'll be in the conversation there because his work usually is. Um,
Uh, yeah, to your point, there I remember him like wanting to do a sequel or at least continuation for a while on the social network idea. And he said that he only do it if David Fincher would direct the film. And now since he's had a couple of films underneath his belt, maybe with Fincher's blessing, I think he had now, you know what, I'm just gonna do it myself. And I think that's a smart move.
yeah,
He's known for his work already. He has a great reputation, so why not? Why not just take it upon yourself to get the job done if this is a story you want to tell?
yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
All right, so moving on, we'll talk about some Disney and Pixar news. Pixar has announced some new details for their upcoming films. First, we're going to talk about Disney Pixar's announced a new film coming to the theaters in 2027 titled Gatto from Luca director Enrico Casarosa. The film returns to Italy following a black cat named Nero, indebted to a feline mob boss. Nero finds himself forced to forge an unexpected friendship that may finally lead him to his purpose. Kind of a vague description, could go all over the place. But I think what's more interesting in all of this is that the animation style. If you look at the photo here, if you're watching us on Spotify or YouTube, is that it looks like we're going to get a different type of animation coming to this movie. And I'm excited about that because over time, Pixar movies seem to kind of look the same. It's very polished, very neat, and I think now, kind of looking into what this can offer, this could, give Pixar, just give us a little something different with the animation. We see that done very successfully with Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. Even we enjoy the animation from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. So I think it's okay for you to just give us something a little different. Give us something for the eyes to kind of appreciate. Even some of the movies we reviewed last year, like Flow. That's the first movie I thought. I was like, oh, we're following a black cat. All right. So Flow did really well. So I guess they're gonna go off of that.
It also like it has that watercolor feel that Flow did.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So it kind of to me it kind of matches that like softer animation touch.
Yeah. I'm not sure how the story kind of revolves around, like how strong that story is. We're following a cat, a feline mob boss, trying to find his purpose. I've always sometimes, uh Pixar's opening approach is not always like strong, but then when you see the movie, you're like, all right, I was wrong. Like it's like have faith in the studio, which,
Yeah.
it seems that they have proven their worth time and time again that they can create quality films, but maybe for some reason have an odd time with their marketing of the film.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree.
So yeah, so new film coming in 2012, 2027.
2020
Uh,
12?
12. So new film from Pixar coming in 2027. Continuing off of that, Peter Swan, Peter
Son.
Sohn, Peter
Peter
Sohn.
Son. Yeah.
The director behind Elemental and The Good Dinosaur, will now direct Incredibles 3. Brad Bird, the original director of Incredibles and Incredibles 2, will remain involved as screenwriter and producer. So this is interesting. Brad Bird decided to, for whatever reason, step down as director. At least we assumed. I'm not sure if it was fully announced that he was going to be directing Incredibles 3, but it is now confirmed that he will not be directing it and now going into Peter Swan. So I love Elemental.
Mhm.
And so I don't think this is a bad trade-off, but my only concern is that I also really enjoyed, the way that Brad Bird directed Incredibles 2. So we're gonna miss a little bit of that, but he's still involved, at least how the story is gonna be structured. And I have faith that Peter Sohn can give us some heart into the Incredibles film.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I mean, Good Dinosaur, Element. His movies, I feel like they're sleepers because I remember when Good Dinosaur came out, I was
Hmm.
like, oh, it's not that good. Or same thing with Elemental, and then it's like over time, people learn to like appreciate his films. But like I've always liked it. Like I liked Elemental first time I saw it. I thought it was
Yeah.
fantastic. Good Dinosaur, fucking fantastic. When his dad gets swept away by the flood, it's like that's heart wrenching. Like he
Yeah.
writes good stories for kid films. So I think this will be a good round out for him to round out Incredibles 3. And he's taking the helm as the director, but as you mentioned, Brad Bird is still going to be on board as screenwriter and producer. So he's still going to be heavily, that's that's his baby. He's going to heavily
Yeah.
he's going to his mark will be on there. Right?
Yeah, there is a sense of like Brad Bird is still running the ship, but it's Peter Sohn who's driving.
Yeah.
That to me that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm still extremely excited for Incredibles 3. Uh the first two were already bangers. The second one not as strong as the first one, but that's a hard movie to beat.
True.
So to see how they round it out, if they decide to go, I would love to see them a little bit older. Like, in
Yeah.
my opinion, because 2 took place immediately after 1. I wouldn't mind if a few years go by. We see a little bit older Jack, if the kid's a little bit older, let's get some different family dynamics, and that's what makes The Incredibles, is the family dynamic that they have between all of them, and we know how well, Peter Swan directed Elemental
hmm
and family dynamics, so I think that's a prime fit going in. If it's not Brad Bird, I think that's a good fit moving forward for Incredibles 3.
Like, what if Violet's starting her own family? Like, what if she's getting married?
Ooh, that we're going multiple years.
Well, I mean, think about how many years it's been. What year did Incredibles 2 come out?
2004.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
It's been over. It's what? That's over 20 years. Yeah.
Over 20 years. Yeah, that's crazy. And I'm old.
And
Uh,
I'm old now.
and the last bit of Pixar news, Pixar also gave us our first look at Toy Story 5 and features the film's supposed villain to be a kid's tablet named Lilypad. Disney Pixar CCO Peter Doctor confirmed the return of Tom Hanks and Joan Cusack as Woody and Jesse, and described the film as toys meet tech, and follows an 8-year-old Bonnie as she discovers her new toy tablet, a device that is as enticing as can be, and that the other toys will have to deal with. Toy Story 5 will hit theaters June 19th, 2026, with Andrew Stanton, the director behind Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, and Wally, writing and directing.
It's an interesting premise.
Yes, I was about to say that. I think this is what, in my opinion, what Toy Story 4 should have been.
Yes. Toy
Like
Story
if we were
4.
going to if we were going to continue this movie in any way, shape, or form, this seems like a natural progression instead of what was given in Toy Story 4, which I feel like, and we've had talked about this before this movie comes out, I think we should rewatch. I think we should rewatch all of them, but specifically Toy Story 4, because we've always had a contention of how Toy Story 4 was just not the movie, but a lot of time has passed. And it's been 7 years actually since between the release of Toy Story 4 and Toy Story 5.
That's
So
fine. I mean,
I
I'll
wonder if
watch it and I'll
that
tell you.
time has maybe changed our minds on the Toy Story film.
Nope. I will. You already. I don't know why you're baiting me, because you already know. You already know what I'm gonna say. You already know. I don't even know why you're getting. You like. You really want to get me going already again.
He said, "Nope."
Nope.
Anyway, moving
Nope.
on.
Move on. Toy Story 4 should have been a miniseries, but this seems like as you mentioned, this would have been a great premise for Toy
Mhm.
Story 4, and a more of a reason to re-kickstart the franchise, because
Yeah.
that is an interesting premise. Kids don't play with toys like they used to play with toys, like when the original movies came out. Now there's fucking tablets everywhere, so it's interesting to see that dynamic and that being introduced to the Toy Story world. I think that is an interesting thing for them to explore. That to me is worth watching. So
Yeah.
you heard it here first. I am interested in Toy Story 5, but Toy Story 4 is still dog shit. Actually, I won't even say it's dog shit. It's just should have never have happened. It's what I meant to say.
I really want. We're gonna talk about Toy Story 5, and I want to revisit this conversation.
Oh, you already
Like,
know that we're gonna revisit it. Like I'm already fully anticipating that it's gonna be like when that movie comes out, we're just gonna make it a thing. Like it's just
yes, absolutely. I'm so excited already.
it's gonna be like a Toy Story episode where it's like, all
Yes,
right,
yes, it is.
collectively look at the original trilogy, and then we'll talk about the disaster that Toy Story 4 is, and then we'll lead into the movie.
It's the writing itself.
It is, because Toy Story 3, 1, 2, and 3 is a
Oh,
perfect trilogy.
so good.
So good. Bookend
So good.
ending. It was beautiful. And then, like, what the fuck is this?
You get Forky.
Forky. I'm trash. Yes, you are trash. But that trash, guess what? You're also a toy. You're a trash that is also a toy.
It Trash that made $1 billion and won an Oscar.
Wow.
Incredible.
That's so funny.
I will say that Andrew Stanton has not missed when it comes to his films. Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, and Wally were all bangers. Finding Dory, not as much, but Finding Nemo and Wally, fantastic. So
I like
if there's
Finding
anyone
Dory.
that knows classic Pixar, it's that guy.
That's fair. That's fair. So we'll see.
So
We
we'll see.
shall see, Matthew.
Yes, we will indeed. And on the topic of Disney, one last note that I forgot to mention here is that since the live action Lilo and Stitch is on its way of making $1 billion, Disney officially announced on 626 Day, so that was June 26th. They're officially in development of a Lilo and Stitch 2. I'll wait for anyone who is surprised.
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody. Okay.
They saw all that money they made. They're like, yep. Like opening weekend, I'm sure they're like, you can just go ahead and start that process now. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and what's even incredible, at least, and we'll probably dive into this more when we have our summer blockbuster, no, our summer box office recap,
Mhm.
is that Lilo and Stitch was $100 million movie, and it's on its way to making $1 billion, which is crazy to have a budget that low uh, to a major IP. And then, it's not surprising this movie made $1 billion, but I think it is surprising of when you compare it to the budget and the outcome. It's a huge win for Disney there, and either a questionable times on their live action remakes makes it, baby. We're gonna keep doing these.
especially because wasn't Snow White the one immediately before that one?
Yes,
So it's interesting to see like the outcomes of both of those live actions.
absolutely. When I believe Snow White's entire theatrical run was beaten by a weekend's worth of Lilo and Stitch.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
That's fucking
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, on worldwide gross, I believe it surpassed it within the weekend,
Yeah.
which is nuts. So clearly, Disney has to look at that and be like, well, clearly no one wanted Snow White, and there were other reasons behind it,
Yeah.
which is a movie I'll be talking about a little bit later in the show. And obviously the massive droves of people who went to go see Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just a kids movie that works.
Yeah.
It just works as a live action. And that's really what it comes down to. Like it's just a decent kids movie that works.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but it checked the boxes.
Yeah, check the
And it
boxes.
checked
It
the
was good.
boxes really well.
Yeah, it was good. I was entertained.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Yeah, wrapping up Disney.
So, in some DC news, James Gunn took to social media to announce that Welsh actor Tom Rice, Harry's 2019's The Gentleman and Netflix's White Lines, landed the lead role of Clayface in DC Studios' upcoming Clayface film from Speak No Evil director James Watkins and written by our boy, Mike Flanagan. That's going to be hitting theaters September 11th, 2026. James Gunn also confirmed in an interview that DC Studios' next big film, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, in theaters June 26th of next year, 2026, has been retitled to simply be called Supergirl. Speaking of Rolling Stone, Gunn remembered how he was originally going to call his Superman reboot Superman Legacy before deciding to shorten the title just to be the hero's name. While he did not directly state why he changed the Supergirl title, he mentions that he is sick of the superhero title Colin the other name thing, which I totally get. I understand.
Yeah. And I understand, like, even further along that interview, specifically with Superman, I believe when there was like Superman colon legacy, I think someone had pointed out to him, probably in his like inner circle, that like legacy for me, and I 100% agree with this. Legacy makes it seem like it's something that we are like honoring, remembering, like this long tradition, like a legacy of sorts. And I think when somebody pointed that out, he's like, "Yeah, I don't think I wanna associate that with basically starting the first film to come out of DC Studios," so he just cut it and just simply called it Superman, which I believe was a better move.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, and then I was also listening to a podcast, and they also mentioned that the colon typically refers to a continuation of sorts. So, with all these other movies we have, just going to Marvel, for example, we have Avengers, Age of Ultron, and then so on and so forth. Captain America, Civil War. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. But the first movies were always just the name of it, except for Spider-Man. But also there were other Spider-Man movies prior to that, so that also makes sense. So yeah, so I think in the sense of like when you want to introduce a character, just call it by its name, and I think that makes sense. But I did like the title though, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It has a nice ring to it, but it is what it is.
Well, and I think the reason why it was originally named that is because that's the book that it's based off of.
Right.
The Tom King book, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
Mhm.
So I get that, but why not just call it Supergirl? I'm
Yeah.
excited for all these DC projects. We're 2 weeks from Superman. I mean, this is the movie that's going to determine how successful DC Studios is going to be. There's a lot of pressure on
Yeah,
the July box office between DC and Marvel. Like
yeah,
nobody likes to think about it as a versus. Like we want to enjoy both, but let's be real. Like there is a competition of like which one's going to be better. This is the movie that's supposed to reset and restructure the Marvel universe, and Superman is the movie that's gonna kick off the new. I guess it's kind of like the same thing, like the new DC universe of like this is the main course correction is what we're gonna be getting from this film.
yeah. I agree with you. I think now more than ever, a lot of pressure is on the superhero genre to see if people still want to see these movies. And you're also taking classic uh IPs like classic superheroes like Spider-Man, sorry, like Superman and the Fantastic Four. Down those characters were created so long ago, and there's so much rich history with these characters. You want to get it right. And so with a lot of failed attempts at both Superman and the Fantastic Four, a lot of pressure is like, all right, you're saying that you are the people, you are the guys that are gonna make it like this is like I'm gonna do it right. And if they don't do it right, it sets the standard for what's moving forward on both DC's and Marvel's slate. But everything that's surrounding DC Studios so far has been really exciting. Obviously, we don't know much about uh, this new actor that has Clayface, but it's glad to see that the casting has been moving along and they're trying to stick to their September 11th, 2026 release date. And our boy Mike Flanagan, we know how much we love him. So, like, I'm happy to see that that is moving forward. And Supergirl's making the necessary changes on that. Well, but yeah, a lot of pressure going into Superman. All eyes are on the superhero genre in July, and I guess Jurassic World as well, but whatever.
Yeah, I guess.
And say it again?
I was like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's looking at Jurassic World's like, "Are they gonna reinvent this franchise?" And the answer is no, they're not.
Yeah, they're probably
Uh,
not.
yeah, yeah. Um, but with Superman, yeah, a lot of pressure on Superman, a lot of pressure on Fantastic Four. We'll see how they fare in the box office as well as the reviews. Because even if it does poorly, I mean, as long as they're good movies, that's all we care about. But the studio wants it both. They
Yeah,
want they want critical and financial success here.
yeah. Well, I guess we'll
Um,
see. We shall see.
we shall see indeed. And the last piece of news we have for you guys this week is Blumhouse Production has no, not finally, officially acquired the Saw franchise rights from Twisted Pictures. This deal gave Blumhouse ownership of the franchise, with Lionsgate continuing as a partner with 50% stake. The move comes after a period of uncertainty for the franchise, including Saw 11 being delayed indefinitely. The deal also involves the return of original Saw co-creator James Wan, as the production company Atomic Monster recently merged with Blumhouse. Since this deal is finalized, the potential collaboration could see James Wan and Lee Whannell, co-writer of the first three Saw films, and who has a long relationship with Blumhouse, develop more films together in the franchise. I think to me this is a match made in heaven.
Yeah,
Blumhouse has a large resources of making low budget films, and often they are hit or misses. But at least you know what, they make movies, and that's more than what Lionsgate and Twisted Metal has been doing for the last few years. Even their last outing with Saw X was really good. That was a really good movie.
yeah. I
But
wanted to
some
check
of the
that one out.
prior yeah, I mean, it's especially bringing the return for Jigsaw. It was a really nice standalone story in the franchise. But then they also gave us dog shit like Jigsaw. No, sorry, that wasn't Spiral. It was
Yeah,
Spiral that was dog shit.
the Chris Rock one. Didn't he direct that? He directed that,
Ye
didn't
I believe he did, and he directed a horrible movie. I hated that movie. I don't hate movies. That one, "Hello, detective." No. Stop it. God, annoyed the hell out of me. So yeah, I think having the Saw franchise kind of go with the Blumhouse production again, they've had their own reputations of hits or misses, but I think this is a good fit, whether for better or for worse. And if James Wan wants to go back and Lee Wanell wants to go back into this franchise, it seems like nothing is stopping them from doing so. If they want to go back and trying to tackle some new stories with it. Are we also you can arguably say that we are done with this franchise? Absolutely. There've been 10 movies. I don't no one's really asking for more. But
Well,
if more comes out, which is probably inevitable, Blumhouse is not a bad place to be.
yeah, it sounds like they're on the track to do that.
Yeah, seriously. And obviously they wanted it. Somebody in Blumhouse wanted it.
Like,
So
who asked for this?
they probably, hey Blumhouse, you want Saw? I was like, I guess.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
sure. Sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
Why
we'll
not?
take it. Sure, yeah.
It's popular. Just pile it over there.
He's
Yeah, we'll
like,
take it.
they try hung up like, hey, we got Saw. That's cool.
All right. What's for lunch?
That's nice.
I do think it'd be interesting just because James Wan's coming back and we can see the original, just some like a callback to to the original franchise, to like maybe what the franchise was supposed to be, because that's the problem. Like, shit changes hands and then it just morphs
Mhm.
into it. Like you look at what it started and what it is. It's like how did we get here? Like how did we get
Yeah.
from that to that? Just the constant changing of hands, the different change of direction, like just seeing how crazy things get. I think maybe this.
We don't
I think this could. I think that what they do will could reinvigorate it for you. It'll all depend on what the next one is.
Yes, but they're not confirmed of going back to the franchise. They're just they have a long relationship. Both James Wan and Lee Whannell have a long relationship with Blumhouse, so they could potentially go back to this franchise, or they could say fuck that franchise and they bring in a whole fresh crew, and then it's still shit. So that could also be a possibility.
Well, that's fair.
But again, time will tell.
Time will tell.
Uh, time will tell. But anyway, that is all the entertainment news we have for you guys this week. As always, you can follow all the entertainment news on our Facebook, Instagram, and Facebook page at Box Office Bingers, and our threads and Instagram page at Box Office _Bingers. We'll post all of the news over there first, and then we'll come back on the show and we'll talk about it. So with that, we're gonna be diving into a fun segment we like to call What You're Watching. So Ernesto, we'll start with you. What have you been watching?
So I don't have much, but I finished that show, the John Hamm show,
Mm,
Your Friends and Neighbors. I enjoyed
nice.
it. I thought it was really good. It started stronger than it ended, just because like
Mm,
I felt like it went to like a crazy place, and then there's some things that they left unresolved, but leaving it for next season. But John Hamm is a standout. I love him as a leading man. Very similar to Mad Men, the other big show that he led. I
mm,
think that he just plays well into this role, and like you get this narr like this what is the word, narration. You get narration from him throughout the
mm.
season, and it just works. Like he's living this double life, um, of of stealing and like losing his job, and like the interpersonal relationships with his family, and just kind of how they mixed all those dynamics together. It was interesting. I thought it was really good. Kind of like a look into like rich society and that high society life.
Hmm.
But I mean,
The trailer still looks interesting to me. I haven't started it yet, but it's been on the radar.
yeah, it's good. I would check it out. It was a good show. It just maybe it was a little long. Like maybe it could have
Mm,
done like maybe like one or two less episodes, or make them 30 minutes. Like they didn't need to be like full all. Each episode didn't need to be an hour.
yeah,
But it's
but
interesting enough.
worth diving into.
Absolutely, yeah, it's worth diving into, because
Okay.
that could just be me because I love John Hamm.
Mm, okay.
And the only other thing that I haven't finished it. I've watched most episodes, and this is one that we share, is Apple TV Plus's The Studio, Seth Rogen show. I think that this is like catnip for people who watch movies and TVs, because it's just like every episode and it's just like the things that they touch on and talk on are just fucking it's hilarious. Like the episode about the oneer and the
Yes.
episode itself being a one shot, I thought it was great. I thought it was super creative. I thought it was really funny. Like the little aspects they hit, and like the things that happen make you, in a sense, it makes you appreciate what a one shot is.
Yeah, it's specifically with that episode. As you mentioned, I love that episode because they're honoring and paying homage to the difficulty of a one shot, while inadvertently not even making any mention that the show itself is doing the exact same thing.
Hmm.
So they're like, and they're also talking about how pretentious it is. It's like, oh, you're working all this hard to give us some fine art. So they're making fun of a one shot while showing you how difficult a one shot can be, while also in itself in the episode doing a one shot.
Yeah.
It's so meta, and I love it. And also within all that, it's just batshit crazy. Like Seth Rogen, his character cannot stop getting in his own way.
Yep.
And that is basically the basis of this entire show.
Yeah, and I'm here for it. Like, you know what episode I also really enjoyed is the pediatric oncologist episode. So where
Mm,
he's dating a pediatric oncologist, and he's like, this is like somebody who's, so the way I saw it is like somebody who's into movies
yeah.
and somebody who's really not, but they also have totally separate careers. And they have what they would deem as important jobs. Like he's running a studio, like he's got to make all these movies, he's got to make all these decisions, but he's dating this pediatric oncologist. And for those who don't know what that is, that's like it's kid cancer. Like this doctor is a doctor that cures kid cancer. And he ends up going to this
A
like
banquet.
gala. It's like a gala or something where they're trying to
Yeah.
raise money. And they start talking to him about his job, and like they're just like shitting on movies, and like basically calling it like his work unimportant. And I just the back and forth in that episode was hilarious. But he brings up a really good point. He talks about like how like the medical field, they save lives, but art makes life worth living. And I think like in he was being an asshole, like in the context of what he was speaking, but there is some truth to what he's saying,
Mhm.
because that's what people look for. They look for these art. He's like, what do you when you go to when I'm in your hospital, on the wall of every single room? And that would be a TV screen
Yeah.
showing movies and television. And like he's got a point. Like there is like, yeah, what every your work is important, because obviously, those are things that we couldn't we're trying to heal. It also is funny, like he's arguing with the girl, and she's like, we're curing cancer. He goes, oh, I'm sorry, did I miss that headline? Did we
Yeah.
cure cancer?
I was like, damn.
He's like, I'm sorry, I fucking missed that. Did you cure cancer already?
What's crazy about this is that like they both were not wrong.
No.
That in the grand big scheme of things, movies are not that important when it comes to saving lives. It's like,
Which is
but
true.
right, but at the same time, he wasn't wrong by saying that it brings people joy. It and as we've also talked about here on the show multiple times, is like movies makes life make sense.
Yes.
Like for us, that is our window into certain areas we don't understand, or it's told in a certain way that it can connect to audiences, makes us feel something, makes us experience something we've never experienced before, whether it's real or not. But it gives us an emotion, it gives us ideas, it gives us thoughts and feelings. And so, like movies, TV shows, getting swept into these stories, it does that, good or bad. Like it kind of shuts our brains off for 2 hours at a time, or however long you want to start a show, and get swept into this story. And that means something to a lot of people. But when you're comparing it to s- you know trying to save children from cancer, yeah, I get it. So I think they did a really good job balancing the two, and kind of presenting to people who don't care about movies. They're like, "Oh, I might have seen that one." And like, and it's also presented a really good conversations like, "Wow, am I Seth Rogen in this scenario where like I've seen a lot of these movies and it's really important to me?" And then
Yes.
when I say like, "Oh, what do you mean you haven't seen all of the Marvel movies?" It seems kind of like a given, right? Everyone sees all the Marvel movies. What do you mean you haven't caught up on such and such? Like it seems like that's the one thing you gotta watch. And then even them is like, oh, I think the last time I went to the theater was go see Barbie.
Or
Like Barbie was
Barbenheimer.
so long ago.
It's like, yeah, that was a couple years ago.
Yeah. And it's like for some people, movies are not that big of a deal, but in our world, it is. And but it's important of the work that they are doing as a studio head, which is also funny because then he's on the phone in the contracts of like deciding on how like explosive and a diarrhea is in one of the new trailers that are coming out. So it's like, oh, you're making a decision on how poop comes out. And like also valid, but also that is entertainment. So
That's
some
a
people don't understand the intricacies of being involved in the entertainment world. They don't see that as important. They see that as like fun and silly because that's what entertainment is. It's supposed to be fun and silly.
I
Um,
I
but they don't
also
appreciate the amount of work that goes into it.
I also think that there was this aspect of like economics
Mm,
of like where he is in comparative to where these doctors who are doing important work, because there was this whole element of this of like a they were doing a raffle, so like they're raffling off
yes.
these four guys. They wanted this, it's like a weekend to go golfing with like
Yeah.
this pro
Pro
golfer.
golf player. Yeah.
And they're like, we're not going to go over, like they're literally the four of them, the doctors are strategizing of how they're going to collectively pay for this thing, because they want to be able to, they want to be able to do it, and they want to outbid their other guys. So it turns into like this bidding war between all these doctors. And in the right before this, they just finished talking shit, mad shit, to Seth Rogen about how his job doesn't make sense. But
Hmm.
like then we cut to this scene where they're doing that, and they're like, we're not gonna go above 100, like that's gonna be our max. Like he's like, I could sell my stocks, it'll be worth it, it'll be worth it. And so they do it and they get excited, and then right as they're about to announce it to them, he not only outbids them, but he literally doubles what they pay. Like they go to
Hmm.
100,000, he literally stands up and just goes 100, 200 grand. And
Hmm.
to me, I thought that was funny because they're talking shit to him, but look, he's able to just casually drop 200 grand.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys are collectively trying to put this thing together, but yet we're having a conversation about values of our careers. So I just thought I thought in the mix of everything happening, I thought that was an interesting tidbit that they added to the episode, because it just kind of gave it, and they didn't really bring it up, but there was just something that I kind of picked up on as that scene was kind of playing out. Like, oh, he can
Well,
just
they
drop all this money. And like, well, how much is, like, his job must be worth something if he's able to provide in a way that you are not able to.
right, right. But they also kind of made a mention because the lady that the woman that he was with was like, "Hey, you're being an asshole right now." Just outbid them out of nowhere, and kind of just like I think she was just like a dick swinging contest at that regard.
Yeah.
And so he was like, "Oh yeah, it's like you were just being an asshole." He's like, "Here, I'm gonna give you guys a trip," and he's like, "Are we not happy that I gave all this money to charity? Is that what we're mad about?" And then I think all he wanted was the validation, and that's what a lot of these episodes too is all self indulgent stuff for Seth Rogen. But
That's
he was
very
just
true.
like all he wanted was them to admit that his job was important, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah, but what
They
the
couldn't
fuck?
agree to that.
Yeah, but see, but to them, like to me, in that moment, they are the pretentious assholes because,
Yes.
like, who are you to downplay somebody else's work? Well, not everybody are doctors. So that means
Hmm.
that means that you, as an individual, devalue everybody else's work, and you put yours at the top.
Yeah, they also saw him as being like the funny guy. It's like, "Oh, look at you dating a movie producer or a movie studio head."
Like, oh,
It's
that's
like
fun.
that's so out of the norm like others doctors don't date outside of other doctors. So
Oh, that's yeah, that's a
like
good
even
point.
then they were kind of already bringing him down. It's like, "Oh, he's just a funny guy and he just works on movies and but all of his vocabulary is stuff that we understood." And so I feel like as a movie nerd ourselves, we are Seth Rogen trying to understand all the people outside of the movie world and trying to have a conversation with them. And it's like you're like the world is not surrounded about around movies, but yet we are on top of this shit like no one's business. So there's a lot of great stuff here. In addition to seeing how movies are made, even the first episode where the Kool-Aid, um, like buying the rights to Kool-Aid and making a film out of it, but then Seth Rogen wanted to making a sophisticated movie, so he gets Martin Scorsese to agree to make a movie about the Kool-Aid Man, but not exactly in the way that people think about when you see the Kool-Aid Man. And then when he brings it to Bryan Cranston, his idea of making this billion-dollar franchise, he's like, I'm gonna give him this unique, different idea with this title. And then he went with the kids angle. And then he was like, well, why did we spend all this money to buy Martin Scorsese's script? And he goes, to bury it. And he goes, oh, that's smart. And then just crushes Martin Scorsese's dreams and just now shuns him as ever working for the I think it's Centennial, whatever the movie studio is called. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah.
whatever ever working for them again. And
Continental.
co- no, that I thought that was John Wick.
I thought it was Continental Studios.
If it is, then that's crazy. But yeah, I'm sure that that shit happens all the time, and of like a movie studio buying somebody else's script just to never release it.
Yeah, it's called
Just to
Continental Studio. The fictional movie studio is called Continental Studios.
oh, it is okay. Well, I guess that shares a thing with John Wick.
But you brought up a really good point about a lot of these episodes just being about his self-indulgence and just wanting to be like accepted and like wanting to be like praised, because you see the same thing in the Golden Globes episode,
Yes.
which was another
Yeah.
hilarious. Like this show, like it's real. I kind of wrote it off. I definitely wrote this show off in the beginning, but it's really funny. It's very funny, and it's I think it's cleverly written more than anything.
Ye I feel like you also need to have an appreciation for what they're doing, because if you're trying to go on the outside looking in, you might not catch some of the jokes, and if you do catch some of the jokes, then you have to be on board with Seth Rogen's style of joke telling, because this show moves a mile a minute. So like it is fast moving, the jokes are flying by, and it's also cringe humor because he is just his own worst enemy
Yeah.
on every situation that happens. And you haven't seen the last two episodes yet, but it gets worse.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Yeah, I don't know if it was which one came first, which one, the last one I saw is either the Golden Globe episode or the recasting episode,
Yes.
which I thought was
Uh,
another really funny, expertly written show. Excuse me, episode.
yeah, refresh my memory with that one.
Where they're looking at the casting for Kool-Aid and they see
Oh,
and they
yes,
see Ice
yes.
Cube and they see Sandra Oh, and they're like, oh, well, the Kool-Aid is a black man, so he has the soul of a black man. So that means that he has to be married to a black woman. So then but then it's like one change. Like, and at first I didn't see it. Like at first I didn't see where they were going with that. But it's like you made one change, but then that one change makes a domino effect to all these other things, because then it changes your perspective on how you look at things. And like they were doing all these castings, and at first it was fine, and they go back to it later on, and they're like, oh, well, now since you changed all these other things, now I have to look, now it's forcing me to look at it this way, and we can't
Yeah.
have this person with this or this with that. And I thought it was an interesting mental gymnastics that they were going through, because it seems like these are the conversations that they're having, because these are the things that they have
Absolutely.
to worry about, whether it's like making sure that if he's black, then his wife has to be black, or like, well, now the whole production staff has to be black. Oh, well, then now since you have two black leads, now the writers don't feel comfortable writing for a predominantly
Yeah.
black family. Like they feel
Black
like it
cast,
should
yeah.
a black cast. So it's interesting. Like, and they're like,
And
we're
they
just
also
gonna
threw an AI in there as well.
yeah, and that was a nice. But they kind of just like threw it in. They kind of just threw it in, and then I felt it at the end, like, oh well, that's gonna like nobody's gonna care about this shit, but people are gonna care
Yeah.
about the whole AI thing. And I thought that another thing that they touched on, which is, and I think that's what makes the show great, is that it touches on issues that are taking place within like the movie community, like things
Yeah.
that we talk about, things that are discussed when it comes to making these projects.
Yeah,
So
and also the uh like you can tell that these are most likely real conversations that studio heads have or producers have, and they're again getting in their own way. No one's probably thinking that, but they are. And then you can see a version of how a studio can potentially ruin a movie. Whereas they just get too involved into making these decisions, and if they let the creator just be the creator, everything is fine. It's just a movie. But sometimes when the studio gets involved, you can see how this turns into a mess all of a sudden. So with season two on the horizon, it's already got renewed for a season two. They have a really, really like this is our wheelhouse.
yeah,
This is it's smart TV for the movie community. It fits right into this is comedy for us. This is hilarious.
it is
They
not.
did a great job with it.
And I think that even if you're not a movie person, that you can still enjoy the show. I think I think it's
For
funnier.
sure,
I
for
think
sure.
it's funnier like if you know, like, like if you pick up on things that like that we would pick up on. Like that, like I guess what they I really hate that word, like of what cinephiles would like
Mhm.
things that they look at or they would deem important. Um I just think I think I wrote my thing is that I wrote it off, and I think it's a lot smarter and a lot funnier than I
Yes.
originally intentionally thought it was going to be. Like it's really smart,
Mhm.
and it's really smart with the jokes and the comedy. Like I'm here for it. I'm all in. Like it's so funny that I would rewatch it because I'm sure that there are jokes and stuff that I missed in my initial viewing.
It's also quick. The 30-minute episodes are
Yeah,
so fast.
it helped, and I think that helps too. I think that also
Yeah,
helps.
absolutely.
But other than
But
those
yeah,
two, that's all I got.
yeah, we definitely recommend giving the studio a watch there on Apple TV Plus. Yeah, I've seen a couple of movies, a couple of shows. First of which I want to talk about some stupid movies, stupid fun movies.
All right.
If you're looking to shut your brain off and have a good time, The Killer's Game, which is currently on Star, starring Dave Bautista, and Novocaine, starring Jack Quaid, that's on Paramount Plus, and I believe is on Prime as well. Stupid premise. This movie makes no sense, but it's a fun ride. It's these 2 movies have the same vibe to me. I saw these both actually on a plane, and I was like, "This is pretty much the exact same movie in a way where the story really doesn't matter, it doesn't make any sense, but I'm in I'm s I'm enjoying what I'm seeing, and that's okay." And so I think they achieved that goal of giving me entertainment, something I don't really have to think too hard about. And just the way that this movie was presented was enough to get by. And like, yeah, I just wasted 90 minutes, but it was a solid 90 minutes. I can't be too mad at it. Um, Especially with the Dave Batista, the Killer's Game. Dave Batista's assassin, he's kind of like the top of his game. Like he is a legend in this like secret society of assassins. Then all of a sudden he meets a girl, and then after he meets his girl, he wants to start slowing down, get out of the game. And then he finds out that he has cancer. And so he does the respectable thing and he sells his girl. He doesn't want to be with her anymore and hires the other assassins in the community to kill him because that is a more honorable thing to do. Because he said that if he uh, if he commits suicide, you won't get the insurance claim. So he wants his girl to be nice and happy, even though they're not married and they just met for a few months. And then all of a sudden, after he put a hit on himself, he's no longer has cancer. Like the doctors made a mistake, and now all these assassins are after them, and then now he has to kill everybody.
All right. that's in a that's a premise.
That is a premise, but you know what? It worked. It's stupid, but it worked.
Was it fun?
And
Was it at least fun?
it's fun, and that's kind of where we're at. And the same with Novocaine. Very silly premise is a guy who cannot feel pain, and he all of a sudden gets involved in a a bank robbery, and they ended up taking hostage a girl that he is just went on one date with and has a little bit feelings for, and then for whatever reason decides to go on a full rampage to try to get her back. And he's not given a care in the world. And again, a lot of this doesn't make any sense, and it's really stupid. But I don't know. There's some little charisma about it, and a little bit of a twist in some angles that makes it a little bit worth visiting as well. So
Well, all right. Those look
yeah,
those
I
look
know. Then you
fun.
said you were interested in watching Novocaine.
Yeah, I don't know if I am anymore.
I mean, it's again, it's like 90 minutes shut off your brain. If that's something that you want to do and you want a little bit of action and something a little, little stupid, but it's you're not looking for a lot of meat in this movie, that's for sure.
All right.
Uh it checks the box if you want some action, some thin storylines, and just some entertainment value. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
That's all you get. All right, moving on from that, The Fountain of Youth. I was really excited about this movie because it was directed by Guy Ritchie, and I feel like his last few movies have been bangers. And then he decided to do like a very adventure esque travel, not National Treasure, Indiana Jones vibe. We're going on an adventure to hunt down this Fountain of Youth, and it was not great. I wish it was better. I like the cast. John Krasinski, Natalie Portman seemed like it was a good vibe going into it. It had its moments. Again, it was entertaining. It had a great first start. It had like a really cool car chase, but ultimately, it just like I never liked these characters. Not a single one. And I
Well,
feel like that's hard for me to latch on to a movie when you just can't connect with the character.
to me,
Um,
to me, it seems like it wants to be National Treasure.
yeah, and it's not. It's not. Like, none of these characters are likable, and I think that was my biggest problem with the movie. I think if I liked any like, John Krasinski was an asshole, the whole time, and he's our lead. And, like, you never I feel like you were never on his side because I also never knew exactly what he wanted either, and they also did these sometimes these weird cutaways of him dreaming, and it just never landed. Uh, I really wanted to like this movie. I feel like everything had a good recipe for like, "Oh, this is my vibe." We're treasure hunting, Guy Ritchie, and although some of the action was pretty cool, some of the set pieces they brought in and some of the environments were like cool to watch, but ultimately it never landed, unfortunately. All right, moving on from Fountain of Youth, going to the Phoenician Scheme. Ernesto, ask me what this movie is about.
Um, if I had to guess, or you want me to ask you, Matthew, what is this movie about?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Couldn't I've seen it and I couldn't tell you what this movie was about, but I had a fun time watching it. This was hilarious in a way that I don't know exactly what what the purpose surrounding this movie was, but Michael Cera was a standout in this movie.
Okay.
I was quite surprised of how much I was just laughing at this movie. And for me, Wes Anderson's a hit or miss. And he has a nice star-studded cast. He has his own way of his own way style of comedy, storytelling, cinematography. Like he is his own brand. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I would say here, I couldn't tell you what this movie's about, but I laughed a lot just of how certain scenes were kind of played out. And there was this really funny scene with Tom Hanks and Bryan Cranston playing basketball. I was dying. It is so funny. Um,
So is it worth
but yet,
to go see in the theaters, or maybe wait till it comes
uh,
to streaming?
I would wait for streaming. I don't think there's a big rush. I did see it in the theaters. It was not my plan for the day, but it ended up, I was meeting with a few friends. We were at the Enzian, we were at the bar, and they're like, "You just want to see the movie that's playing?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure. It's the Phoenician Scheme. Sure, I'll give it a go."
Why not?
And Why not? I was also 3 drinks in, so maybe that made it really funny.
Well, you should have led with that. That's
Yeah,
obviously what it was.
but I was having a good time, and this movie helped with that. So, again, I couldn't tell you what it's about, but it had me laughing. Maybe it was just the environment, or maybe just the theater setting. Maybe you can watch this movie alone, and you're like, "This movie's dog shit." Um, but I don't know. I liked it a lot. So
Okay.
to me, this was a win for Wes Anderson in my book.
All right. All right.
Moving on to a movie I teased earlier, Disney's Snow White, probably panned as from a lot of people one of the worst reviewed Disney live action remakes.
Yeah, that's
And I'm going to
fair.
give you a hot take. Yeah, I'm going to give you a hot take. This movie was not that bad. I
Okay.
actually didn't mind this movie at all. Uh, I think as far as live action remakes go, they did a lot of heavy lifting of changing a lot of the story from the animated classic, an animated film that I did not care for at all. They gave this story structure. This gave this story purpose. This gave this movie a story that kind of makes sense. They rewrote some of the classic songs, like "Hi Ho." You know, a lot of the live action remakes, they would just give you the same song again. The creative styles of our boys of The Greatest Showman and La La Land gave us something different with the songs we are familiar with, and I respect all of that. But Gal Gadot as the evil queen is awful. She was so bad in this movie. She had a solo she had 2 solos in this movie as songs, awful. Like, there are cringy moments in this movie, don't get me wrong. The opening number, awful. I thought the movie opened with this song, and I was like, "Ah, shit, this is gonna be a long hour 45. Um, this is gonna be bad." But you know what? After the opening number and, Rachel Zegler has a voice, and she came up with the original song is, "Hanging on a Wish," or something along those lines, was a banger. Like, that was a good I Want song. You had the Dwarfs coming in and giving us their classic song while also being centered around a story that actually makes sense in a way. There was a lot of stupid in this movie. A lot of stupid, a lot of cringy moments, a lot of which is from Gal Gadot as the evil queen. She is awful in this movie. I don't like anything about what she put to this character. Uh, but at the end of the day, they gave me something a little bit different and a story that I can get behind. And for that, it's not as bad as everyone's saying. Like, I would watch this again over The Lion King because that
Wow.
was just a shot for shot remake that was to me was soulless. These at least the people that were making this movie felt like they were trying to give us something different from the animated version, and I respect that.
All right. Well, I might check it out because I think the kids may want to watch it, and I'll put it on in the background. And like, I don't really care for Rachel Zegler, her acting, but I think she has got some fucking pipes on her. I mean, she was
Yeah.
great in Hunger Games.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I'm just not too crazy about her, but I do love her voice. I think she has a fucking fantastic voice. So, if anything, I would watch it just for that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand there's a lot of contention surrounding this movie pertaining to our lead actors and some of their political views, and it also didn't seem like they liked each other that much either. So, like, this had a lot going against this movie. A lot of people were even questioning why this movie was even being made because of the questionable things that happened in the animated film. And I think they did their best trying to give reason for why this movie was being made.
Mm.
Ultimately, it is what it is. It's not making Lilo and Stitch money. A lot of people did not want to see this movie. But I also feel like this movie was fighting an uphill battle and a lot of people weren't willing to give it a chance.
Yeah, and I just think,
And
like as you
I think this
mentioned,
was one of the better live action remakes.
and I think it's just because you meant, just like you mentioned, just all the shit happening behind the scenes, the free. I
Yeah.
mean, we're even as far back as the interview with Peter Dinklage,
Yeah.
shitting on them using dwarf actors and that it causes them to use CGI the CGI actors, and then like the dwarf acting community was like in an uproar against Peter Dinklage. It's a fucking mess. Rachel Zegler
Yeah.
talking about how they changed the story, how it's not about like true love's kiss. How there's like a line that she says that's like all over the internet, but like it's like not about true love's kiss or whatever. That it's about a girl wanting to be a warrior or be like a leader, like her father wanted her to be. Right? Does that sound about right? Like how the
Yeah,
movie, the
that sounds
vibe.
about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fine with all that.
And that Gal Gadot and like her and Gal Gadot basically like hate each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which you could tell in the red carpet, like they barely didn't even want to be next to each other. So the movie just had a lot of bad press following the production, even like as far back as when the movie was like they were just getting ready to shoot the movie, and then they went through reshoots. So
Mhm.
the project just kind of fell apart. So it sounds like
Yeah.
it probably like. So what do you think would have made this movie more successful? Do you think by changing our two main leads that this movie would have had a different outcome?
No, I don't think honestly, I think they did the best they could. I mean, if that was making any change, I would have gotten rid of Gal Gadot and given it to somebody else. As far as like acting chops are concerned, like she did not do herself any favors in this role. Um, so that would probably be the only change that I would. But again, this seemed like people behind the scenes tried.
Mm,
They tried to give us something different, and not just a carbon copy of what the animated classic was, because that movie is in itself, dated, and I think it needed a modernization,
mm.
and I think they achieved that in a way. They gave us a different story, but again, a story I was fine with. But again, surrounded by everything else that was going on, this movie was already a loss from the start.
All right. Well, I will. So now you've made me interested to at least check it out,
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
so that I
Give it
could
a
at
shot.
least
If you have a mild interest in it, give it a shot. It might surprise you.
yeah, so I could at least tell you that you were right, or I can come back and tell you how wrong you are.
Absolutely. Again, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Next, mm, Andor season 2.
That good?
That good.
Mm.
Prime A storytelling at its finest. Star Wars does not get any better than this. I just wrapped up season 2, and man, it is it's dark Star Wars. This is Star Wars for adults.
Really?
Uh yeah. This makes the Empire scary. Like there's a lot of haunting, not imagery, but like the things that they were capable of doing. Like Star Wars in itself was always meant for, a younger audience, kind of give everyone hope. But here is hope trying to break through while the Empire is constantly trying to suppress it.
Mm.
And just seeing that kind of go by. And season 2 was done really well, where there was 12 episodes. They were in 3 episode arcs, and every 3 episodes was within a year of each other. So like you have episode 1, 2, and 3, and then by episode 4, 5, and 6, you have yeah, another year has gone by.
Mm.
And then 7, 8, 9, another year, and then 10, 11, 12, the year going into kind of Rogue One. And so I think by the time you end season 2, you are very close to the events of Rogue One.
Mm. Is there one more season, or is that it?
That's it. This is it.
So then from what I heard is that once you watch Andor season 2, it kind of puts Rogue One in like a different light for you.
It absolutely. I mean, I haven't seen Rogue One yet, but what I really wanted to do is once we're done recording this podcast, because I just finished the season 2 last night, I want to go and watch Rogue One.
Mm.
Like I've heard a lot of people say there's a tonal shift because Rogue One was, not in the same style as Andor. But like it really does make you want to see what happens next. But you also see the the um the what's the word? The sacrifices they had to make. The all this work they had to do to kind of ignite the rebellion. You see it's a slow burn. Season 2 is a slow burn, but man, when it gets there, It is fantastic storytelling.
Mm.
There is one episode, that's episode 10 for people who are watching, who are kind of following along. Episode 9 and 10 are just the cap, like the ending of the 3rd arc and the beginning of the final arc, are is just great storytelling.
Mm.
I don't want to give too much away for people who haven't seen it, but like even if you have the slightest inkling of what's going on in the Star Wars universe around this time, like this is the Star Wars stories that we want to see. And then I mean, this is kind of an example of like you have a little bit of Star Wars for everybody. Like you can have Ahsoka and The Mandalorian for a little bit of a younger audience or from a different demographic, but then you have Andor, where it's like, okay, if you want like scary Empire, not like scary-ish Empire, as like, oh, they're doing bad things, but you want to see them do nasty things, that's Andor.
That's Andor.
Andor makes them like haunting. They're like terrifying. Like the efforts they're willing to go to get what they want. Scary. And then you have all these characters in the mix, all doing their part, making the sacrifices for the cause. It is so good. Um, yeah, if you are a Star Wars fan and you are particularly, understanding of what's happening around this time with Rogue One, New Hope, all that stuff, this is a show for you.
Mm.
And then we're approaching our last few here. A movie that I just watched, but Ernesto, you saw a while ago, Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Yeah, I saw it in the theaters. And I was kind of
Yeah.
holding on to it because I think our original plan was that we were going to try and review it and have see if we
Yeah.
can get a guest back on for it. But it just, I think, just with movies that were coming out, it just never panned out that way. But yeah,
Yeah.
what were your thoughts?
It was fine.
Yeah, it's a cute kids movie. Like it was
Yeah. I
very
mean,
silly.
yeah, I think obviously the Sonic franchise has found its footing of what it wants to be. I think it was better than Sonic 2.
Yeah,
I,
Keanu Reeves
I
was
think
a
with
nice addition. Was a nice addition to the cast of Shadow.
absolutely, yeah. Keanu Reeves kind of killed it with Shadow. I think there was a little bit more meat to kind of go off of. I think what with this franchise works best is when you focus on Sonic and his friends and
Hmm.
the fact that they took all of the human elements out that I felt kind of dragged down the second film. They were able to kind of focus its narrative on the story that they gave us, and I think it worked well for it. It was silly, but it's also a kids movie.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to see how this franchise has grown from when we had Ugly Sonic. And how it could have gone horribly wrong, and now after of a small course correction, you were able to come out with 3 successful movies, and you're on your way to a fourth.
And a TV series. A
And you're right, and a
miniseries.
TV series with Knuckles. So yeah, I think it's interesting to see how they developed Jim Carrey as Eggman and also Shadow as well. Yeah, I mean, again, I'll keep in mind this is a kids movie, so there was a few things where like, all right, here's this and here's that, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it works for families.
Yeah. It was just a silly kids movie. You can 100% just turn your brain off, enjoy with the kids, and like just laugh and have a good time. Don't expect any kind of real depth from it, which is
No, but I
fine.
think they gave us a little bit depth.
I think for kids, yeah, they did. I
Yeah,
think they made
like
it.
they,
I think they made it age appropriate. This is like even for kids, it's geared towards a younger audience of kids.
yeah, for sure. And I think Shadow was able to give us something for the adults, I guess, something to kind of like Shadow was also at always was operating under a purpose.
Hmm.
And I think he for me was the through line of this movie to be like, okay, this seems like the only person who's not trying to have fun in this movie. And not creating a little bit of silliness to kind of go and involved with this. But like he was definitely a threat to our main heroes.
Hmm.
And then they gave reason to bring back Jim Carrey for whatever reason, and his grandfather,
Who's also
sure,
played by him.
is also played by him, which they made a reference in the movie too. They're like, it's almost like we're the same person, and then they turn to the camera and it's like, all right,
All right, all right. What are we doing here, guys?
I see what you're doing. All right. But yeah, it's all right. Not a bad
No.
movie. And then the last movie we're going to talk about right before we go to our spoiler review is kind of give us our mini spoiler review on Disney Pixar's Elio, a film that I felt like was marketed very poorly,
If at all.
if at
Barely.
all.
Barely
And
marketed.
Yeah, and also like it's a movie that when you watch the trailer and you're looking at it, and I was like, I don't know, this seems like a really thin story, definitely leaning more to the kids vibe of it all. This feels like a movie that like of an idea that DreamWorks will come up with. I'm not diminishing DreamWorks at all, but they also tailor to a specific audience where a lot of people go to Pixar to give a little bit of depth into their storytelling, a little bit of heart into their storytelling. Um, and boy, was I wrong. this this movie had me wrecked by the end of it,
I know
Ernesto.
you text me, you're like I'm a wreck after
Yeah.
I saw Elio.
By the end of this movie, I was in tears. I was like, "What the fuck, man? This is supposed to be a lighthearted movie. This movie was marketed poorly, in my opinion."
And I
Uh,
think it had a lot of issues because there were some issues, behind the scenes. There was they changed directors. It went from Adrian Molina, who did Coco. It was supposed to be like a coming of age story, and he left
mhm.
to go work on Coco 2, and then he was replaced by Dami Shi and Madeline Sharafian. They did she did Turning Dami did Turning Red. And then I feel like it almost, and like we didn't really get any trailers. Like, it's like, oh, it's
No.
this kid who's like alone and wants to find somebody, and he, wants to find connection. He doesn't feel connected to anybody on Earth, and like he's alienated, for lack of a better term, from he's alienated himself for from everybody. And I think, I don't know. Like I feel like it may be the high budget. I mean, in like them having to do all these reshoots and whatever they need to do is probably what caused it. Because they're considering this movie a flop, which I don't understand.
Yeah.
Because I also really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was like give an original Pixar actually giving us an original story that has some emotional depth. That kind of
Mhm.
it's very introspective. Like, trying to find your place. Finding friends in unlikely places. I, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of classic themes with this movie, but also what really kind of resonated with me a lot was it's a it's like it's almost in a way it's deep appreciation for space travel
Hmm.
and the idea of what space can give to you or a young kid of like to your point you're feeling alienated and you're feeling alone in the world that you're living in, and the only way I can feel happiness is if the aliens come and get me because that's where I feel like I belong. Like there are other universes out there, so we can't be alone. And so if I can't feel that I have purpose here, then I must have purpose out there. I must give a reason out there. And the fact that this movie started with the death of his parents and now his aunt has to look after him, and like you see that short aftermath of that, and you're like, "Oh my god. Like this is already dark." And
Yeah, I
like
think.
they really started pulling on your emotions really early, and I'm thinking this is like a really cheeky like here's this kid, just wanted to go see aliens, but the 15 minutes leading before his abduction was so grounded by reality of the sense that here's a kid who lost his parents, you have an aunt who's trying her best who works for
The
for some
military,
sort of space. What is it, NASA? Not NASA.
not NASA, but she works for the military.
There you go. She works for the like naval, like space military, not space force. Um, and like they're kind of observing things that are happening in space, and then you have this kid who is trying to fit not you're not really trying to fit in, but he's trying to like he has a singular mission and kind of focusing on like that rather than, probably focusing on the fact that his parents are no longer there. So like trying to find your purpose and putting all your energy into wanting to be abducted by these aliens. And then you also see him, his aunt sending him away to sleepaway camp, and then the people bullying him, and then all of that's being built up to then when he finally gets abducted by aliens, you feel that. You feel that moment of him like wanting to belong somewhere else. And then you see all these people kind of giving him praises and feels like a place that he's belong. And then he was able, over the course of the film, was able to find a friend within all this. And now he cares about other people. But then you can also see, I love that they kept going back to what was happening on Earth with his clone. Because that was a fun back and forth with like the aunt realizing that that's not really him, and the aunt missing him, and understanding that, like, even though on the surface it didn't feel like that she wanted him to be part of his life, they also deeply care about each other.
There's also this aspect of when Elio goes to check on his clone, he sees how well they're doing, and he's
Hmm.
almost hurt because oh, does she not? How does she like? He's acting like not. He's not entirely like me, but like she doesn't even notice. So like, would she even know? Like,
Yeah,
so then he starts going through the. Does she even notice that as I'm there? Does she even love me? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of that too. There's a lot of like what he was willing to do in order to fit in, like
Hmm.
the effort that he was willing to continuously lie, uh like do things he probably would have never done before, stand up to the bullies in a way to get, to get what he wanted, and then more or less for selfish reasons. But like, I feel like this is very easily, comparable to like people trying this hard to fit in, even though this is not exactly who they are. Uh, and I don't know, there's just a lot of themes, especially when they went back to Earth and they were able to reconnect with this aunt. And then now you have your best friend who is in trouble and you're trying to save him. And then when they went back up into space and they were like going through the craters and everything, and then you saw all of these space nerds kind of working together to kind of shift through the asteroid field. And I don't know, I feel like when they started, all these different languages were coming in, to me that just shows like, here's all these people who are have this deep appreciation for space, for what's out there for space, and this large community, and it felt like he was able to find, this is where I belong, like, with this community, not necessarily like up in space, but people who appreciate the
Hmm.
space. And like, to me that was just so heartwarming. And then also at the very end when he was like, you can be part of this, but also, uh, I think I'm going to continue to live my life over on Earth because that's where I feel like I belong more, or I wanted to build my life with my aunt and not really giving her a chance. And also, you have the evil alien race that we think is evil, but at the end of the day, like, what he was able to, the lengths he was willing to go to protect his son. um, there's also that aspect of that. So parents are going, above and beyond to make sure that their children are safe. And the aunt was doing the same thing. I feel like there's just a lot of cool, heartwarming elements in there. And also what a deep appreciation, like a lot of homages to um sci-fi in
Hmm.
general. There were so many of them, especially when like the clone was melting and he gave him a thumbs up. That was 100% Terminator.
Yep. Yep.
And so like there were so many more uh sci-fi references in this movie, in addition to the deep appreciation for space and space travel. This I feel like this movie was created as a labor of love.
I mean, I thought it was great. I'm saddened because it's considered a financial flop.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if
it made like no money this weekend.
no, I mean, just to quickly talk about the box office here, this movie had a budget of around anywhere estimated between 150 to 200 million dollars, which is a very large price tag. The movie opened, I believe, at number 3. Let's see, I'm just gonna double check here. I believe the movie opened at number 3, and yep, yeah, opened at number 3 with about 21 million dollars. and at the time of the recording, it has made $43.5 million domestically, another $30.3 million internationally, with a grand total of $73.9 million worldwide. And I think a lot of people in the are looking at this movie, and hopefully that with all the positive reviews and not a lot of kid-centric movies coming out in the next few weeks. I think they're hoping that, Elio can maybe ride the same train as Elemental, which ended up doing very poor in its opening week, but over a steady pace of like a lot of people going to check it out and like with positive word of mouth, ended up making almost close to $500 million. And so that was like a sleeper hit for Pixar. And then they were able to combat with that with yeah, almost, yeah, nearly it made $496.4 million at the end of the day for Elemental, and that was huge, and that was mainly contributed to the international market as well as domestically. So a lot of people are hoping that Elio can have the same path there, but I mean, at least upon looking at it now, going into now, just wrapping up its second week, it feels less likely, and it might not even hit the $100 million mark.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just too many other great movies that are out there for it to compete with.
Yeah, and this is a great movie.
I loved it.
Like,
I thought it was great. It's
yeah, and
fantastic.
even how it ended too, just like the callback of like the old school narration of like looks like a radio call like space, and then it's just like this feels like a labor of love. This feels like a classic Pixar movie. I feel like I'm hoping that people at least find this movie when it comes to streaming and they have a deeper appreciation for it. It feels like people who made this movie love space travel, they love sci-fi, and they put it into this very kid-friendly story that's surrounded by family and finding a place they want to belong. And this is Pixar to a T. Like this is classic Pixar storytelling that is simple but filled with emotion. And I don't think a lot of people are willing to give it a chance, at least in the theater. And it sucks because we are in a market where people are begging for original stories, and yet sometimes people come out for it, like Ryan Coogler's Sinners, and then other times they don't with this one. And then studios think that, all right, well, we're going to stop making original content because people are not coming to see this in the theaters. And I think, as we've often talked about many times in the show, is that we want to see original stories, but maybe lessen the budget a little bit. Like, still give it some time, but like, don't spend $200 million expecting for $1 billion turnout.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
that's an unexpected reality for every movie that comes out.
Yeah, you're already putting a high expectation on an original story like that. That's got to go low, and then obviously, if Elio did well, then you do it, and you make a Elio too. But now you've almost just guaranteed that nothing more will come of this franchise.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think this was a great start to finish story in and of itself. But a
Yeah,
lot of Pixar movies also had a great start to finish story, and they were like, "Well, this movie made money, so we're gonna go out and do another one."
true.
Um, but yeah, I mean, spend your $200 million on Inside Out. Like that's a viable franchise. It made $1 billion for Inside Out 2. Like reserve reserve your high budgeted for that. And then give us Elio. Like clearly this is not affecting Pixar too much because I think they're playing ball in the sense of like, here's one for us, here's one for you. We have Elio, but we also have Toy Story 5. Like we have Gato that's coming out in 2027, but we also have Incredibles 3 and Coco 2 on the horizon. So like I feel like Pixar is going to do just fine, but it's just sad that a lot of times people don't go out and support some of the original stuff.
Yeah, that's true, and
But
it's unfortunate because then
uh,
that just gives more fuel for more remakes and less for original stories.
yeah, but very quickly, your 5-star rating on this.
I'll give it a 4. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. It's a solid kids movie. It's a
Yeah,
solid movie. It's actually got some deep messaging. Like there's something there for everybody.
yeah, I can meet you with a 4. I mean, maybe for me crying 4.5, but but yeah, 4 is a good number to kind of go by. This was a great movie. Like
Mm,
this is to me, Pixar has been hitting bangers since Elemental. Like I
agreed.
loved it. Like
Agreed.
they had a little bit of a slump, in my opinion, with Lightyear. But
Yeah.
after that, Elemental, Inside Out 2, Elio. This was a surprise hit for me. Like, I went in here with such low expectations because I thought the story just wasn't gonna hit, and this movie proved me wrong, that they had a lot of story to tell, and it did it so well.
Yeah, I totally
Um,
agree.
yeah. All right. That's our thoughts on Elio. And now we're gonna be diving in to I guess we could talk about follow us on Instagram. Why not? This is always a good reminder to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Box Office Bingers, our X Letterboxd page at Box Office Binger, and our Threads and Instagram page at Box Office _ Binger. Give each one of those a follow, you won't regret it. So now we're gonna be diving in to a fun nope. Now we're gonna be diving into our spoiler review of F1 the movie, starring Brad Pitt, directed by Joseph Kosinski, and music by Hans Zimmer. Ernesto, your thoughts?
The Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer.
This movie was great. Like, this movie's 2.5 hours long, and I was never bored watching this movie at all whatsoever. And I think we kind of mentioned it at the beginning. The thing that kicks you off is this score and this like nostalgic old school callback of like an opening credit scene with like names and music. Like, we don't typically get that. Usually you're kind of just thrown in and like the movie's starting and they're throwing the opening credits with the names in there. Whereas this, we got like a whole musical sequence with the names and all that. Um, to me, it's just like a classic sports underdog story, wrapped up
Mhm.
with a Formula One car as the dressing on top. So it's like basically a story about grit and determination in the setting of F1. Like, he comes in as the old school guy. You got Damson Idris as the young hothead who thinks he knows it all and like trying to do it his way. But then through the story, he realizes that Sonny, uh, Brad Pitt's character, is doing it the right way by going in early and not using the machine to help you speed. You just need 2 tennis balls for your speed and coordination. You don't need no fancy machine. And like getting to work early, like spending more time on the track, like not focusing on like the socials and like all that other stuff that it's about the sport, aka driving the car. Um so to me, like, the storyline was kind of very, very straightforward, but I was totally here for it. I thought Sonny's backstory of him returning to racing after 30 years, I thought it worked because it kind of gave stakes to him wanting to drive again, to revisit this thing that he seemingly failed at when he was younger. So this is like a chance of redeeming himself for what he wants to do and like continue his love for racing. He Damson Idris is this young guy who they seemingly will use him to like pass knowledge down to him, to make him getting the understanding from the older generation of like what's actually important and doing the right thing and like giving it your all, not necessarily focusing on this other shit, which like his manager was trying to get him to focus on. To me, it just worked. The score worked. I thought the action sequences were really, really exciting. The cinematography I thought was beautiful. So the scene before the crash, I thought was just really well done because you kind of feel it coming up to that moment, but then the camera cuts to the still shot of him coming up to the car, but it shows the corner there's like a little yellow corner, and that's the corner that he hits that causes the car to flip, and you're
Mhm.
left on this shot right before he hits it. And I just thought like it just like little things like that just make it like so telling because like you feel the anticipation, like you see it, you're like, oh fuck, he's not gonna listen, he's not
Mhm.
gonna make the turn, and you hear the car coming up to it, you hear it not making it, and it's just like you're built up to that moment, and it just like you see the car just go flipping in the air, like literally the whole theater goes, oh shit. Like it was
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like it was a well earned moment that we led into. And I actually thought he was dead. I thought he died because the
I
car,
thought he died too.
it's like that car's on fire. Like, like how is he gonna come back from that? Um, but yeah, I mean, overall, I think the performances are good. You can't miss. I mean, Brad Pitt is a fucking all-star. Like like I didn't think he makes you forget that he's Brad Pitt. But then you
Yeah.
remember, if that makes sense. Like during the whole movie, I thought that I was watching Sonny. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't like I'm watching Brad Pitt on screen. I mean, there were right at the beginning, I go, damn, Brad Pitt's 61. God, he looks younger than me. Like, like he's just drinking the blood of children. Like, what is he doing? What does that skin and hair regimen look like? Because I mean, he's like Tom Cruise. Like these men, they just don't age.
Yeah, seriously.
But overall, I think it was fantastic. I was looking the action sequences where they actually filmed them during the 2023 and 2024 Grand Prix events at Silverstone,
Mm.
Hungary, Monza, and Abu Dhabi. But they didn't use an F1 car. They used a modified F2 car for the APXG. Um, and then they did some mild blending between real F1 footage and visual effects. So I just thought like how they compiled everything together, I thought was a really well done and just made the movie very, very entertaining.
I think to your point, give credit where credit's due. The editor had a really tough job here
Oh yeah.
of orchestrating all of this stuff together. I'm gonna find this person name. Two editors. And I bet you needed two editors. Uh, Giving credit to as my Stephen Maroney and Patrick J. Smith were the editors credited for this movie. They had a tough job to do of putting all that footage together because it's a lot of quick shots, a lot of this, a lot of that. Like there's a skill there of like how do you edit a race? And that's always for me a difficult part, especially any sports drama. And for me, this is right up my wheelhouse. As you mentioned earlier, this is an underdog story at its core movie. It's like who doesn't want who doesn't want to root for a sports underdog story? Like this is my bread and butter. Like I told you, I'm always into sports dramas, and most sports dramas are underdog stories. And you just eat it up. You're like, damn, like I just want the same meal over and over again. I like the same pizza, like this. I'll eat it every single day. And this does that and tenfold. Like, and then I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, yeah, the story is simple, but the way you tell stories, that's with any movie. Like, you can tell the same story over and over again, but different creators, different directors, writers will have their own spin on a classic story. And this is their version of it, and it works so well for this movie. The action in here, just with the racing, is nonstop. But like once they're in the car, you believe it. Like you are involved into the drama, the stakes every time they go into that vehicle. And I think that was done really well. And you care about these characters.
Hmm.
That's the big thing. You care what happens to Sonny. You care what happens to Joshua. Like you want everything to go right, but it seems like everything is working against you. Everyone is against you. You're trying to, go against, and trying to fight through all these adversaries. And yeah, it's a classic underdog story, and when when it just hits, it
It
just hits
does.
so well.
And I think like even the story itself is good. The acting is good, the casting is good, like all that as well. But I think what really elevates it is these action sequences and the score from Hans Zimmer. It was absolutely phenomenal. Like for me, at the very end when Sonny's gonna cross the finish line and you're in the middle of the score, it has this like moment right before he crosses the finish line. The score goes quiet. It goes like dead silent, and as soon as he crosses it, you just hear like the note change, and it just hits. And how
Mhm.
it gave me chills, like because it just elevate. He was able to take that moment, and already you're elevated because of the anticipation, like wanting to see him win. He's gonna like this is him crossing that moment of like wanting to achieve that thing in his life. And when Hans ties in the score for that moment, it just it just sold the movie that much more.
Yeah, I think what this movie did a really good job is with stakes. It feel like every
Yes.
time they were racing, there was like this do or die moment of what they were going to do, and you just never know when in that moment they were going to like the turn. Everything was going against them. But when is it going to be the moment where things start working out? And you think like a certain point of the film is going to be their moment, and then it's not. And out of a weird point, that moment was when after Joshua had his crash, and then you had like this really good. Every good sports movie has a good montage,
Mm-hmm.
and then like is there montage moments of Sonny just like they're not winning these races, but they're getting in the top 10, which is equally as important. And so I'm also learning a lot about how F1 is run. um, and they have their season. They have these multiple races, and it's a very coveted spot. And you trying to be in as a driver. So there was a lot of pressure into that. And what I also found interesting is that we never really had a villain in this story as opposed to other drivers. A lot of the story was focused within our own world. It wasn't our team versus another team. It
Mm-hmm.
was us against us,
Yeah. Yeah.
and how we can do better for ourselves. And I found that that part was to me more interesting in the storytelling of like we weren't really against any of the other drivers. The story was 100% focused on the drama within this particular team and all the pressures that they had within this team, what they had to do to overcome that, and then do we become the very best at it. And also I loved about this movie is that I just never knew, especially toward the end, when we're going down the final laps, you don't know what's going to happen.
No.
Like this movie could have easily gone down three different ways of
Mm-hmm.
how to end. They could have lost, and then well, we tried our best. Joshua could have won, or Sonny could have won. Like, there were so many different avenues, and they did a really good job playing the audience to that, like, it's this moment or that moment, or we're not gonna win at all, like, all hope is against us. The tires, I never been so stressed about tires.
Like, oh,
Uh,
he's got cold tires.
and,
That's
like
true though. It making they were able to draw you into the things that matter within their world of F1 and like things that like you wouldn't typically think about. Like I don't know much about racing, but now I understand that tire temperature is a very important aspect of that.
mhm. And how Sonny was able to, like, kind of walk that thin line between following the rules and just being kind of He's he's not breaking any rules, but he's definitely playing with them. And we saw that how many times he allowed that to take his advantage so his partner can kind of get ahead. And just like they were freaking out when they got 10 plates because they were able to get pointed. Like they were on the board. And that
Hmm.
was a big moment for them in the movie. And then we just see them getting, 8, 9, 7 and all that stuff in multiple races. But when it came down, they're like, no, we can actually win this thing. The pressure feels real because they've been trying so hard, and we understand the stakes for Sonny and for Joshua and for Kate, as well as the first, like one of the only or few female
First
F1
technical director? Is
car
that
designers,
no, what did they call her? I thought they called her a technical director.
either technical director or designer or
Yeah.
engineer,
Kate the
maybe engineer.
Kate the technical director, yeah.
Okay. And so yeah, so we don't even understand her weight. So like even when they won at the end of the day, like you felt, she was all excited, and like you can see the joy that come out of her, even her as a character. You've also like that weight was there as well. Like it was a win for the driver as much it was for anyone else on that team because we were able to focus on many different aspects of it. And I guess if there was a villain, it's corporate greed,
Yeah.
because the guy wanted them to lose so they can have an easier sell for the company, so he can have a big payday at the end of it, or get rid of Javier Bardem's carrier, um, Ruben character, so they can get him off the board, so then they could, you know, form the team the way they want it, and then like have Brad Pitt come in as like a consultant or something, and whatever the case may, or Sonny. Um, but yeah, but the stakes were there, and to me, again, doing a really good job of kind of offering a very at the last race when like they feel like all hope was lost, but then something happened to Sonny's car that forces everyone to kind of have a fresh restart. all drivers to have a fresh restart and be like, okay, we have 3 more laps to go. This is it. This is the moment. And you're on the edge of your seat because you really don't know what's going to happen next. I think they did a really good job kind of giving us tension when it comes to this racing.
Hmm.
Uh, Also, this movie, to me, this is the movie of the summer. This
Yeah.
speaks to everything we go to the movie theater for. Like you have this feel good, like a movie that when you walk out of, you're cheering at the end, like the end of the day. Like you have a really feel good moment about it. You sat down in a chair, you were entertained for 2.5 hours. You get swept away into this classic underdog story with tension being built up, characters you can connect with and you love with, and then you have this resounding win at the end of the day. You have an awesome score, and you walk out of that theater is like, hell yeah, I'm gonna start driving 5 miles over the speed limit now. Um, and you get like so excited. Like this is a summer blockbuster to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally, totally agree. I thought it was like it just fits that summer blockbuster movie. You could easily go back and rewatch this film.
Yeah, and again, is in a way an original story tied to a known like brand, I should say. Like this movie wasn't centered around understanding the world of F1, but using F1 as a vehicle to tell this underdog story. And then from there, like, yeah, to me, this was the same feeling I had walking out of Twisters last year is the same feeling I had walking out of this movie. In the sense of like, I was entertained
Yeah.
for 2 hours. And I'm feeling pretty good walking out of this movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I liked this better than I liked Twisters.
I can see that. Absolutely.
I felt like it was just more like the action sequences are just like Joseph Kosinski, he knows how to shoot an action sequence. I mean, you saw it at Top Gun Maverick. We
Yes.
saw it with even Oblivion and Tron Legacy. Like it's just kind of his thing that he just does very very well. Like he like those cockpit cams, like bringing us into the car and like
Mm.
having just showing like little side angles of the car, different aspects. I just thought it was just a way to fully engross you, and I thought it was just really expertly done.
I mean, you really you make a really good point of bringing up Joseph Krasinski. Like, what a movie to come back from after Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I mean, like that was such high octane, edge of your seat action and storytelling, surrounded around this, very popular IP of Top Gun, and bringing this story together. And it was the movie to bring back people to the theaters.
Yes.
Um, and now for a follow up 3 years later to give us pretty much the exact same feeling
Yep.
that we had under something completely different. Instead of like the high octane in the sky, this is high octane in the track.
Yeah. And it
And
worked.
you feel that. You feel that adrenaline rush walking out of that theater. It's such a really good feeling. I saw this in RPX, so I paid a
Ooh.
premium for it because I knew I was like, I want a little bit extra. The timing for 40X just didn't work out. I really want to see this in 40X, but I couldn't get the timing right that fits with my schedule. But I settled for RPX, and man, my seat was shaking.
Oh, I saw it in
Like,
Dolby and it was incredible.
yes. Like, the sounds of that movie was also fantastic. Do you
Sure.
think this movie might have the same love, to the Academy as Top Gun Maverick was? Top Gun Maverick was nominated for Best Picture, among other awards. Do you
No.
think this could maybe they can see some love for this movie as well?
No. I don't see it for that. I don't see it for
Mm.
this. I'd be very okay. Let me rephrase. I would be very surprised if we're having a conversation about F1 as an Oscar contender next year.
Yeah, it's sad because I feel like this movie can shine a lot technically, especially in the editing, sound design, like it's there in my opinion.
I can agree. I'll agree with that. I can agree with that. But I thought I'm sorry. I thought you meant as like best picture.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but like at least the Academy is aware of Joseph Krasinski with his work with Top Gun, So like Top Gun Maverick, I should say. So like if they wanted to, if they really liked him, they could push this along
I could
if
see
they
it for
wanted
some.
to.
I could see it for editing, sound design, maybe even the score.
Score, yeah, I mean Hans Zimmer,
Come on,
crazy, killing it. Um, yeah, I can see it. I can see it for a multitude of things that they could.
editing,
I mean, I'm not again.
cinematography,
Was it?
editing, cinematography, visual effects. I mean, those are all
Yeah,
pretty.
all
Those are all those really solid.
yeah, and um, yeah, I think I'll agree with you. I think I'll be very surprised if they actually go down and kind of give it a look. But at the end of the day, this is a solid. One would even say fantastic summer movie to see on the big screen. Like
Totally,
this
totally
is the
agree.
reason we go to the theater to be kind of swept away into these these stories that make you feel good at the end of the day.
True.
And they have they it's again, I feel like we haven't talked much about the story, but I feel like it's very simple.
Yeah.
You know, like you described it a little bit. There's not much to kind of dive into it, but just how you felt walking out of it. That's to me what was more important.
To me, the story is very straightforward. It's a sports underdog
Yeah.
story with an older guy trying to mentor a young guy, and it's going through their trials and tribulations. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much the movie. There's specifics, but I think those are important to the film itself. And I don't. I think it was really well written. So they're like, I don't really have anything that I would be like, well, this was bad or this was bad. Like, no, no. I mean, it was all pretty straightforward. It all made sense. Like it just tracked. Like it tracked on the track.
And also, I think even the character of Sonny kind of staying true to kind of like his lone wolf vibe, kind of going in and out of situations. The movie started with him coming out of, he's a great
NASCAR.
driver. Also, like now as the movie ended, the best of the world. And he kind of comes in, does his thing, and he goes out, and then goes on the next adventure. Like he could have easily been that character where it's like, I found my family now. I'm no longer a lone wolf. I want to continue my life doing this. But instead, I think he stayed true to his character and be like, all right, I did this one thing. Now I'm gonna go do this other thing.
Well,
Like, yeah, I just won Formula One, but
and like he mentions, and I guess you would call it a post credit scene when he's going to the dune doing the dune races.
yeah,
That it's not really, it's never for him. It's never been about the money. It's about
yeah,
for that moment that he can forget, and he talks about it with Kate. That moment where everything just kind of fades away on the track, and the
yeah,
only thing he sees is the race. Like he lives for that moment, not necessarily the paycheck. The paycheck that you get with it is an added bonus.
yeah. And then obviously we saw that right before he crossed the finish line where everything kind of went silent and he's
Hmm.
just like, I think they said, "What's happening?" He's like, "He's flying."
Yeah.
And like it's that same euphoria moment that Zendaya have when she watches tennis and challengers.
Yes. Come on.
Come on! Yeah, as soon as he said that, it's like, "Oh, it's like tennis, but, with Zendaya." It's like you feel like, you get and that's, something that you can see in a lot of sports movies. Is like you're getting swept away into the sport
Hmm.
of it, the love of it, rather
Hmm.
than the financial kind of minutia of it all. Like, to your point, like wanting all the followers, the fame, the money. A lot of people, it's not about none of that. It's just the sport and the love of it. Um, with that, let's quickly talk about the box office. This movie opened at number one, which was a big win for Apple TV because they're the one who made this movie, and there was a lot of flops that the Apple TV's had in the past, considering with a lot of money they put into it, and then not a big return. And ones to call out for was Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, and Argyle. All those movies went to theaters, and they did not do them well in the financial box office. But this one was the first big win for them. So this movie opened at $57 million opening weekend. And at the time of this recording, this movie domestically has made 63.9 million. Internationally, 8 point. Sorry, $63.9 million domestically, $89.3 million internationally, with a grand total of $153.2 million on a roughly $250 million budget. So, as far as big financial swings, Apple TV still spent a lot of money on it, and after the first week, it still has a long road to go. It needs at least 500 just to probably break even. But on the grand big scheme of things, Apple TV had a big win for them for probably the the financial success, at least big budget they were looking for, but a so long way to try to get a profit there with the high price tag. They could
Mm.
maybe get it, but also when you're getting Brad Pitt, all that shooting they had to do in Formula One, and Joseph Kosinski coming off of Top Gun Maverick, yeah, you're spending a lot of money on that. But what do you think? With July being stacked with Jurassic World, Superman, and Fantastic Four First Steps, do you think this movie has a chance to continue its streak?
Yeah, and I think it's very similar to like in the beginning of the summer season that when one thing comes out, that you kind of inspire other people to go, oh, well, there's this other movie that's out here too, and then this movie's out here too. I think that this is just it's gonna it's not it's going to be overshadowed to a certain degree because of so many heavy hitters that are coming out. But people
Mhm.
who are going to the movies, it's going to give them an opportunity to want to come back to the movies to watch this. Because
Yeah, I
I do
think
think
to
it's
your
where I do
point,
think
very
it's
similar to how Twisters operated.
yes, yeah,
This movie kind of Twisters came out right in the middle of the summer season, right before other big blockbusters came out. I think this movie came out a week or two before Deadpool and Wolverine, which was, that movie ended up making $1 billion. But if that movie just would have were able to like get a little bit of breathing room, I think it would have been better financially. But the big success with that movie is that a lot of people want to see Twisters in 40X. And I feel like F1 is, excuse me, following the same path of
yeah,
a lot of people wanting to see that movie in 40X. So, as well as the other premium formats, but quickly could kind of see it go away once Jurassic, Superman, and Fantastic Four kind of take over the premium formats there too. So,
true.
um, but hopefully, this is again, I feel like this is the movie of the summer right here.
Yeah, just
Um,
a classic summer blockbuster.
yeah. So with that, Ernesto, your final thoughts and your 5-star rating.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought the story was pretty straightforward. Classic underdog sports story. Um, but it's obviously the Hans Zimmer score to me is what really elevates the film. Like the film was good, but I think the how good the score is just kind of elevates the movie to the next level for me. And Brad Pitt, Carrie Condon, Damson Idris, Javier Bardem, knockout performances from all of them. I mean, 2.5 hours, you're not bored, not one time.
Mm-mm. I would easily watch this again.
Absolutely. I would easily spend another two and a
Yeah.
half hours and watch this. Easy.
Yeah. 5
Oh,
stars.
yeah, 5 star. Uh I'm gonna go 4. I'll go 4 stars.
4.
I'm
Now, I will
actually
remind you, you did say this was better than Twisters, and we gave that a 5 out of 5.
mm,
So does that change?
no, but I will move it to a 4.5. I'll go 4.5 out of 5.
All right, fair enough. To me, this was a total package. This is what I want in my summer movies. I'm pushing it to the 5 out of 5. I was
Wow.
not bored. I was not bored. I was fully entertained, and I was swept in this world for 2.5 hours. Like, to your point, to me, this movie did no wrong. So I can't fault it for anything. And I felt really good walking out of this movie. I was like, damn, this is the reason why I go to see movies on the big screen. Like, this is the movie of the summer. I'm gonna keep repeating it. Like, no other movie that comes out this summer for me is going to beat the feeling that I had walking out of this. I could be wrong, but like I feel like me walking out of Superman and Fantastic Four, I have so many expectations going into those two movies that I don't feel like I'm gonna walk out with a resounding like, "Whoa, that was amazing." I'm gonna have something other feelings coming out of it, and other things that are gonna be clouding my excitement on certain things when I go see those movies because I'm putting my expectations on those movies are going to be a little bit higher. They have to cross a higher bar in my book. But this movie had a low bar to cross and it exceeded all those expectations. And for that, I'm giving it a 5 out of.
You know, Matt, I'm gonna meet you there. I
We
will.
did it.
I will meet you at the 5 because you're right. You're absolutely right. I think I was like trying to find something. I mean, maybe the story could have been a little bit deeper, but I felt like it would have detracted from everything else. Like it would have made it,
Yeah,
it would have been like too much into the movie. Like if we had gone too much into her backstory of Kate's backstory, or even like a little bit more in Sonny's backstory, I felt like it would have just kind of diluted how great everything else was.
yeah, and I think to your point, I think you made a really good point. This is what the movie needed to be.
Yeah.
Like, if you put too much into it, you try to put more meat on the story, then you might slow down the movie a little bit.
Hmm.
But even the moments where it wasn't racing, the tension between Sonny and Joshua were driving the story. The risks that Ruben was taking was driving the story. The tension between Kate and Sonny and their romance was driving the story. And then all of that kind of bundling up into our next race that gives us the excitement of being in a racing vehicle, like all of that. It just worked so well. This was the movie that needed to be, and that is perfectly fine for a movie to be this. As long as a movie knows what it's supposed to be and it does it well, then that is the reason why we see movies.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So there you go. F1 the movie, 5 out of 5 from Box Office Bingers. And that is our spoiler review on F1 the movie. And that is all the show we have for you guys this week. As always, you can follow us on our social media channels on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Box Office Bingers, our X and Letterbox page at Box Office Binger, and our Threads and Instagram page at Box Office _ Bingers. The fun doesn't stop here. It continues all of our social media channels, including our Letterbox page where you can see all of our movie reviews, our Facebook, Instagram, and Threads page for all the latest entertainment news, as well as our new to stream Fridays. And we give you the box office numbers every Sunday. If you want to see our beautiful faces, go over to our TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or report shorts and all little fun videos over there too. So again, so much fun coming out of our social media channels. So be sure to give each one of those a follow. You're not going to regret it. Ernesto, tell the lovely listeners what they can look forward to on our next episode.
Oh, next week is the week because we are reviewing Superman, and we are going to have a special guest. And this is a movie that I know that you've been anticipating, but this is like my most highly anticipated film for this year.
Yeah.
So, as you were just saying, there's a lot riding on this film to do well. It has it has to set a lot of high bars. So I'm curious. I mean, we'll know within the next couple weeks kind of what the DCU is going to look like. So I think that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, and also like with Superman coming up, we're gonna be, at least I am. I don't want to commit to what Ernesto's doing, but I'm gonna do some homework. I have never seen any of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, and so I want to kind of give those a watch for the first time. Kind of give myself in the mood and the mindset of it because I feel like a lot of inspiration is probably going to come from those movies. I'm gonna try to also watch a documentary as well, and kind of get myself in the Superman mindset as we go into the new face of the DCU. And again, a lot of pressure on this. James Gunn has a lot to prove with this movie, and we are superhero nerds. So, and comic book fans, as you can see from Ernesto's background and mine as well. Maybe not mine, but
Look, there's Superman right here.
yeah, so there he is. Here, there he goes, right there. Yeah, we're big superhero nerds, so we also have a lot of high expectations going into this. So be sure to come back next week to kind of hear our review on Superman and see if it holds up as the DCU is just getting started. We like to thank each and every one of you for listening to us to talk about movies. We really do appreciate it. Come back next week for more movie fun. You're not going to regret it. And for that, I've been your host, Matt Diaz.
Oh, and I've been Ernesto Santos. See ya.